Phoenix Nights. Chapter 705. Disciple, let's work together to tie him down. We absolutely cannot let him obtain the black gourd. Paragon Emperor Su stared at the distant domebush swaying. His eyes were cold. In the legends, whoever obtained the black gourd would be able to rule the entire world. They could even leave and enter the vast cosmos. Regardless of the reason, he would not allow any other expert to obtain it. Yes, master. Paragon Kenhuang also unsheathed the sword in his hand. Letting your disciple stay behind is the same as sending him to his death. Domebush Shuang wielded his divine sword and walked forward step by step. Each step created afterimages as the distance between them rapidly shortened. With just you? Paragon Kenhuang was clearly confident. He knew that Domebush Shuang had killed Fei Hua Palace, head of the Sky Fire Palace, in just a few moves. However, he believed that he was more proficient in survival. In a one-on-one battle, it shouldn't be a problem for him to withstand 7 to 8 moves from guest elder Fei Xue. Now, with his master by his side, his survival was even more assured. Boom! Domebush Shuang suddenly waved his sword. Kill! Paragon Emperor Su's silver hair danced in the air. Countless white silk strands danced with his body at the center, forming many layers of maelstrom. Those layers of maelstrom seemed to lead to another world, and these maelstrom enveloped Shuang. Paragon Kenhuang was much more dazzling. Together with his sword, he turned into a dazzling golden light and charged at Domebush Shuang. Because the power of the white mist within the ancient shrine was too great, the lightning and fire of the laws of heaven and earth were unable to form. However, Domebush Shuang's speed was actually slower because the restrictions within the ancient shrine were much stronger than the outside world. Myriad Devil True Body, 100%! At this moment, Domebush Shuang's heart was on the black gourd. He didn't have the mood to waste too much time. Earlier, when he lifted the stone door, he had exposed his strength. Boom! Boom! With the extreme speed of Domebush Shuang's myriad devil true body, he swung his sword twice in a row. The first strike landed on the dazzling golden sword light, instantly dispersing the golden sword light. Kenhuang, who was inside the sword light, revealed a look of terror. Following that, his body completely exploded. The second strike also landed on the layers of whirlpools. The twisting forces in the whirlpools kept weakening the power. However, the power contained in Domebush Shuang's divine sword was too strong. Emperor Su was forced to step back to defend himself. While he was defending himself, he was shaken by the strong impact, and was sent flying out of the ancient celestial palace. Supremacy Emperor Su retreated over 150 miles before standing in the air. He looked at the black-robed youth in disbelief. How could this be? Just 2 sword strikes. Paragon Kenhuang died, and Paragon Emperor Su was forced back. Domebush Shuang looked at the weapons and other treasures of Paragon Kenhuang. Actually, Paragon Kenhuang had died quite unjustly. If not for him being in the ancient celestial palace, he would have been able to reform his body even if his body was destroyed. However, the entrance of the outer hall of the ancient celestial palace could force Chongsher forefather to kneel, and the pressure from the inner hall was practically the limit of Paragon Kenhuang. When he was in perfect condition, there was naturally no problem. But the moment his body was destroyed, the resistance of his shattered body would be much weaker. Under the pressure from the inner hall, not even Paragon Emperor Su could save him in time. He actually dared to clash head-on with me. Domebush Shuang shook his head and muttered. In the end, his body was destroyed, and he was even killed by the pressure from the inner hall. How could he know? Although Paragon Kenhuang knew that the strength needed to raise the stone door was huge, he did not know exactly how much strength was required. Furthermore, when Domebush Shuang fought with Fei Hua Palace Master previously, he did not use pure strength to blast the other party apart. He merely sent him flying. In addition, he was confident in his sword techniques, which was why he naturally cooperated with his teacher. Who would have thought that he was so wrong? When Domebush Shuang fought with Fei Hua Palace Master, he could only display 50% of his strength. But this time, He was using all his strength. This stone door? Dongbu Shuang walked to the place where he raised the stone door. He raised his head and frowned. The stone door is stuck after being raised, but it can't be lowered anymore. If he could lower the stone door, he would be able to obtain the black gourd in peace. After obtaining the black gourd, he could just raise it again. But in reality, even if he raised the stone door, he had no way of making it lower. World deity Feishue! The distant Paragon Emperor Su roared furiously. The stone door can't be lowered. It seems like I can only kill you so that you won't disturb me. Dongbu Shuang transformed into a stream of light and rushed out. Although Paragon Emperor Su and Paragon Kenhuang still had their avatars, they would be spread far apart to prevent the enemy from killing them all in one fell swoop. Therefore, as long as he killed Paragon Emperor Su, no one would be able to disturb him for a short period of time. Even if the Spectre Prefecture Master used his karmic senses to determine his location, it would still take him quite some time to rush over. Boom! Outside the ancient shrine, Dongbu Shuang and Paragon Emperor Su clashed again. What happened? What happened? Why is there such a huge commotion? The entire Su Empire was in an uproar. They could clearly see the commotion in the direction of the royal palace. Many figures flew out in fright as they looked in the direction of the ancient shrine with fear and unease. In the direction of the ancient shrine, there were two terrifying existences fighting. Fortunately, their power was suppressed by the laws of the world and the ancient shrine. Thus, the shockwaves were greatly weakened. Even so, the weakened shockwaves continued to clash with the royal palace's array. Paragon Emperor Su, you want to escape? Do you think you can escape? A cold voice rang out. I won't stop you, I won't stop you. Paragon Emperor Su was slightly flustered as he escaped into his own palace. He wanted to use the array to defend. Boom, boom, boom! Just 12 consecutive violent sword lights tore the array apart. Dongbu Shuang transformed into a dazzling stream of lightning and fire as he chased after the escaping Paragon Emperor Su. Paragon Emperor Su was in a sorry and regretful state. He is actually so strong. The absolute art of the Tao of Slaughter, 6 sever sword styles, complemented Dongbu Shuiying's Tao of Slaughter, allowed his sword techniques to be extremely powerful in terms of offense and slaughter. If it was just this, Paragon Emperor Su wouldn't be afraid and would still have the upper hand. However, the myriad devil true body had a suppressive power, causing Paragon Emperor Su to be completely suppressed. In the God realm and the abyssal abyss, if one was simply suppressed, one might be skilled in space-time or in the infinity realm, and they might even be able to escape with their lives. But in this world, the laws of the world were too powerful. Their flying speed was also very slow, making it much harder to escape. Pooh! Chi! Dongbu Shuang had the absolute advantage in speed. After catching up to his opponent, he unleashed his sword of slaughter to his heart's content. With terrifying strength and speed combined with the profound profundities of his sword techniques, the power he could unleash was naturally incredible. That protector of Wuju might be stronger than Dongbu Shuang, but in terms of cultivation realm, he was much weaker. If they fought again, the situation would be completely different. I don't even dare to stop you, so why are you chasing me so relentlessly? Guest Elder Feishue, I acknowledge your strength and position. From now on, we don't need to be enemies. Paragon Emperor Su continued to persuade. The main reason was because he was too confident in the past. Although his clone was far away, his main body, which was usually in the Su Empire, carried his most important weapons and treasures. In his opinion, in this world, who could kill him? It was already very prudent for him to hide his clone in a faraway place. Why didn't you stop just now? Now that you know you can't win, you are begging for mercy? Shuiying's hands did not stop moving. Even though the other party's defenses were amazing, his frightening strength allowed him to injure Paragon Emperor Su with every sword. Furthermore, I don't need you to acknowledge my strength and status. Boom, boom, boom. Every single sword light engulfed Paragon Emperor Su. After the time it took to brew half a cup of tea, Paragon Emperor Su's body finally collapsed. His life force was exhausted, and he was quickly destroyed. Paragon Emperor Su was dead. Quick, Spectre Prefecture Master, bring the 4 of us to the ancient shrine to stop World Deity Facia. He has already killed my disciple. I'm afraid I won't be able to hold on for long. He will soon retrieve the ancient shrine's black gourd. We must think of a way to retrieve it, and not let him snatch it away. Paragon Emperor Su was still asking for help while fighting against Dongbus Shuang. The Lord of Spectre Prefecture and the 2 palace masters of Sky Fire Palace were shocked. A paragon of the Su Empire had died in battle. Even the oldest paragon Emperor Su couldn't hold on for long? This guest elder Facia was too terrifying. Retrieve the ancient shrine's black gourd? That was a legendary item. At this moment, the 3 of them had their own thoughts. However, Spectre Prefecture Master still agreed to bring the 4 of them to the ancient shrine. Chapter 706. Dongbus Shuang looked around. The entire Su Empire was in a state of chaos. Even though the shockwaves from the battle in the sky were weakened by the laws and the capital's arrays, the countless cultivators in the capital saw with their own eyes that the invincible paragon Emperor Su was killed by a black-robed young man wielding a sword. The 5 of them are quite far from here. Dongbus Shuang relied on karma to sense that the 5 paragons were more than 3 trillion kilometers away from here. With their speed, no one would be able to disturb him for the time being. South, Dongbus Shuang turned into a stream of light and flew into the ancient shrine. Very soon, he entered the inner hall. Raising his head to look at the highest point of the stairs, the black gourd was still faintly glowing in red. The ripples it emitted caused the surrounding void to distort, and there was even white fog rolling around it. Such power should have lasted for a few epochs. There are no more paragons around. Even though there are still powerful existences in the Su Empire, they probably wouldn't be able to stand up straight in the inner hall. Dongbus Shuang was very sure that since even Chongshi forefather could only kneel at the entrance of the outer hall, there was a limit to the powerful existences in the Su Empire. Who? Dongbus Shuang let out a long breath. He allowed his true deity heart to regain its calm and made preparations for climbing the stairs. Previously, the stairs were destroyed, but even if it wasn't, could he reach the end of the stairs? Even if he reached the end, could he pick up the black gourd? He had no confidence. He sensed that the Spectre Prefecture Master of the 5 Venerables was teleporting at high speed towards the Sky Fire Palace. He did not rush towards the Su Empire. They know that they are not strong enough, so they are preparing to team up. Dongbus Shuang chuckled, not treating them as a threat. He took a step. Dong! When his left foot stepped on the stairs, it was as though he was stepping on his soul, causing his true deity heart to ring. However, the experienced Dongbus Shuang remained unmoved. After calming his true deity heart, he took the second step. Step by step, he kept climbing upwards. Indeed, no almighties dared to come and destroy it. Not even one person dared to enter the shrine because the deaths of the Su Empire's 2 venerables were too great of a deterrence. As he climbed higher and higher up the stairs, he got closer and closer to the black gourd. The distorted void ripples struck against his body, and the temperature grew hotter and hotter. The soul's shockwaves also grew stronger, but Dongbus Shuang still gritted his teeth and continued climbing. Gradually, Dongbus Shuang felt as though everything around him was rumbling. He knew that, in reality, the surroundings were relatively quiet. It was his own soul that was roaring. It was incomparably hot. Explosions rang out incessantly. Dongbus Shuang began to sway as he walked, but he gritted his teeth and held on. His will was like a blade. His will flowed through his entire true deity heart. Even though he was swaying, he continued to move forward. Every time he stopped for a while, he would take a step forward. Finally, he reached the spot closest to the black gourd. Suddenly, the dark red color on the surface of the black gourd suddenly disappeared, and so did the terrifying heat and energy waves. Following that, the gourd flew into Dongbus Shuang's arms. This? Dongbus Shuang hugged the black gourd in a daze. I got it just like that. He had thought of many difficulties. He was worried that the black gourd was too hot, and that he would have to take it away through the void. He was worried that there would be an even more terrifying shockwave. In reality, the moment he walked in front of it, it flew into his arms. This black gourd? Dongwu Shuang hugged the black gourd, and a strand of his luminous sun force tried to seep into it. But the moment his luminous sun force entered, it came into contact with the terrifying heat, and was instantly incinerated into nothingness. Brat, this black gourd isn't something you can control. A slightly sharp voice rang out. Although the voice was rather loud, it was very pleasant to listen to. It was like a beautiful melody. At the same time, a blurry figure appeared in the air in front of Dongwu Shuang. Dongwu Shuang hugged the gourd, and looked at the figure in front of him with some surprise. This was a life form with a very unique appearance and attire, and it gave Dongwu Shuang a very unique feeling. He was in a human form, and his robes were like his skin, sticking to every part of his body. His robes were mainly silver and gold. The skin on his face was green, and his hands were also green. His hair was silvery white, and it was tied into small braids. His eyebrows were also silvery white, and they were like two swords. There were 3 golden horns on his head, and his eyes were also golden. Obviously, this was an appearance that Dongwu Shuang had never seen before. It was fine if it was just the appearance. After all, what other races did they not have? However, this figure gave Dongwu Shuang a very unique feeling. Even though it was just a figure, it still emitted an aura. This aura was different from any other aura he had felt in the past. It wasn't a common pressure, nor was it like Monarch Green's aura that made people submit to him, nor was it like Peng Yi's aura that made people feel close. Instead, it was a type of nothingness. It was as though he was a member of the void of the world, vast and boundless. It was like the sky, but it also felt even higher and more vast than the sky. The fireball within this black gourd, in terms of strength, is on the same level as the sun star of your cosmos. You can think of it as the sun star hidden within this gourd. The silver-haired, golden-horned man grinned. You foolishly tried to control it? Even the hegemons among you wouldn't be able to do so. Dongwu Shuang was stunned. What? The black gourd had emitted a terrifying temperature earlier, but the fireball within it was on the same level as the sun star? What was the sun star? Every epoch had its own sun star and moon star. They were the core of the cosmos, and if a hegemon dared to enter, he or she would instantly die. In terms of strength, the sun star and moon star far surpassed the hegemons. It. Dongwu Shuang hugged the black gourd in front of him, and lowered his head to take a look. He didn't dare believe that a terrifying existence comparable to the sun star was hidden within. You can't even control it, much less refine it, the silver-haired, golden-horned man said. Dongwu Shuang listened obediently. So what if his master had been to the other 2 cosmos? He had actually met a terrifying existence that placed an existence similar to the sun star within the black gourd. I was forced to leave my hometown and wandered the cosmos, passing through many cosmos. The silver-haired, golden-horned man laughed. Suddenly, one day, I realized that I didn't even have a single disciple. Therefore, I decided to accept apprentices. I spent a lot of effort to craft 6 gourds and threw them in 6 different universes. I set up many tests in each of them, and only those who passed the tests could become my apprentices and become one of the Void Walkers. Void Walker? Dongwu Ying's heart was filled with doubt. The Void Walker is a very unique cultivation system. It is different from the cultivation system of your cosmos. Naturally, you can cultivate both. The Void Walker lineage is extremely difficult to cultivate. Thus, I set up many tests. The Void Walker lineage is extremely rare. Thus, I left behind 6 gourds. These 6 gourds will also be your Tao Protector treasures. I hope that they will be able to protect you when you are still weak. The silver-haired, golden-horned man shook his head. However, I reckon that even one of my 6 disciples would be able to reach my level. Don't be anxious. You are not my disciple yet. In the 5th epoch of your cosmos, I came to your cosmos. I discovered that this cosmos was created by that old fogey Tianyu. Furthermore, this cosmos even gave birth to a very monstrous cultivator. He was actually able to barge into the starting ground left behind by that old fogey Tianyu. It seems like the cultivators of your cosmos have quite a bit of potential. That's why you left behind an inheritance here. I placed the star map in the 6 paths Tianlun created by that ancestor devil. Only those who are able to pass his 3 devil halls test and are young enough would be able to obtain that star map. I placed a total of 12 star maps in there, the silver-haired, golden-horned man said. Only those who obtain the star map would be allowed to enter this world. Dongbua Shuiying was finally certain. Previously he was puzzled. Be it the ancestor devil or the Lake Heart Island master, they did not leave behind many absolute arts in the deity world and abyss. Why were there so many absolute arts in this world? So it turned out that the star map was not left behind by the ancestor devil. It was placed into the ancestor devil's treasure vault by this void walker. One of the 6 gourds refined from it, the black gourd, was already this strong. But this void walker was actually forced to leave his hometown. He even knew the old ancestor of the starting ground, Ancestor Tianyu. Ancestor Tianyu was the creator of this cosmos? With so many secrets, Dongbua Shuiying was a little dazed. Obtaining the black gourd is merely the first trial. The silver-haired, golden-horned man smiled. I will now impart a technique to you. By relying on this technique, you will be able to control the black gourd. You need to master this technique within 5 years. This can be considered the second trial. As for the third trial, it is for you to think of a way. Remember, think of a way yourself. You are not allowed to rely on anyone else to refine the black gourd within 1,000,000 years. Once you pass the third trial, you will naturally know the location of the inheritance, and receive the inheritance. If you fail, the black gourd will return here and wait for the next brat with potential. I have left behind a total of 12 star maps. The silver-haired, golden-horned man smiled. At the same time, his figure transformed into countless runes which tunneled into Dongbua Shuiying's forehead. Chapter 707. Within his sea of consciousness. His true deity heart sat cross-legged as golden runes appeared in his sea of consciousness. The countless runes formed a complete cultivation technique. In terms of length, this cultivation technique could not compare to the vast amount of information contained in the luminous sun, extreme annihilation, mysterious body, 6 sword styles of severance, etc. It was merely a simple cultivation technique used to control the black gourd. However, when Dongbua Shuiying started to study it carefully, he could not help but read it slower and slower. This was because every rune contained many profound mysteries, and when they were combined together, there were many ways to decipher it. As he read, he finally finished the entire cultivation technique. However, Dongbua Shuiying was confused. So strange. Dongbua Shuiying was at a loss. In the past, it was extremely difficult to comprehend. However, this cultivation technique seemed to be very easy. Every rune contained many mysteries, and these mysteries were combined to form many different cultivation techniques. I comprehended 16 cultivation techniques after reading it once. Dongbua Shuiying hugged the black gourd in his embrace and tried to control it. 1. Runes formed from the luminous sun force started to condense in midair. These runes flowed into the black gourd, but it was like a clay ox entering the sea. There was no sound at all, as they were completely incinerated by the terrifying flames within the black gourd. This cultivation technique is wrong. Dongbua Shuiying was not surprised. He continued to try, and very soon, he had tried all 16 cultivation techniques. I say, that void walker gave me 5 years to cultivate this cultivation technique. If I could comprehend it after reading it once, wouldn't the void walker's test be too easy? Dongbua Shuiying shook his head. This was within his expectations. However, I did not expect this cultivation technique to be so strange. It seems like I can decipher it any way I want. After reading it once, I was able to decipher 16 cultivation techniques. If I did not use the black gourd to verify it, I would not be able to judge whether it was right or wrong. The ancient cultivation technique was right in front of him. But no matter how he comprehended it, it was wrong. 5 years. Dongbu Shuang had already walked down the stairs. He turned back to look at the top of the stairs, and then at the black gourd in his embrace. He was still overwhelmed with emotions. Even though he had already comprehended the cultivation technique once, he was still shocked. The news that he knew was simply too unimaginable. This cosmos where the deity world and abyss was located was actually created by an ancient and powerful existence. He was the master of the starting ground, forefather Tianyu. No wonder the talisman of the starting ground was so powerful. It could easily reach the starting ground from any place in this universe. It could also easily reach any place in the universe from the starting ground. As for the opportunity that he obtained, it came from an existence whose strength should be close to that of forefather Tianyu, the mysterious Void Walker. Void Walkers referred to experts of a special cultivation system, and there were very few of them. Just how vast is this world? Just what level can one reach in cultivation? Dongbu Shuang was filled with anticipation towards the possibility of obtaining the cultivation system of the Void Walkers. Up till now, he had only been cultivating the orthodox cultivation system. He had comprehended the profound laws of the universe and opened up his own path, while his body was developing an internal world. He had never trained in any of the other cultivation systems, and although he had tried to train in He Gemin Peng Yi's cultivation system, he hadn't been able to gain a basic understanding of it. It was obvious that the more special a technique was, the harder it was to learn it. The lineage of the Void Walkers was probably even harder to learn. At least for now, Dongbu Shuang had passed the test. There were still 2 more rounds of selection. If he failed, the black gourd would naturally return to this world, and he would no longer have a chance. This stone door is actually stuck. It can't descend. Dongbu Shuang stood at the entrance of the ancient shrine's inner hall. He raised his head and looked at the stone door. At the same time, he sensed that the Spectre Prefecture Master had already gathered with the other 4 paragons. Paragon Emperor Su, Paragon Kenwang, and Paragon Feihua had also cultivated their clones. They had long prepared the embryos and used the time acceleration to cultivate them. If I descend, no one will be able to disturb me when I cultivate in the inner hall. Dongbu Shuang frowned. There was actually no place in this world where he could cultivate in peace. If he was attacked by 5 paragons at every moment, how could he cultivate? Only his main body, which was far away in Crimson Rock Mountain, could cultivate peacefully. As for this clone, the effect of cultivating was almost negligible. This meant that he was only using 50% of his strength to go through the test. Of course it won't descend. A clear voice rang out. Dongbu Shuang started. A chubby child appeared on the black gourd in his bosom. The child was about the size of a palm. He sat on the black gourd and hugged the head of the gourd. The chubby child was only wearing a red undergarment that was as dazzling as a flame. The rest of his skin was exposed. You are? Dongbu Shuang looked at the child on the black gourd. Don't you know who I am? Of course, I'm the treasure spirit of your Tao Protector treasure, the black gourd. The palm-sized child stood up on the black gourd. Do you think that I don't have a treasure spirit? Dongbu Shuang shook his head. Weapons and arrays that were slightly more powerful would be able to condense a spirit. However, this would depend on whether the owner was willing to keep the treasure spirit. If you passed the 3 tests, without my treasure spirit, would you know where the inheritance ground is? The child sat down and grabbed his tender little feet. Without my treasure spirit, with just a control technique, would you be able to use this Tao Protector treasure? Without special guidance, even a true God ruler wouldn't be able to control it. Of course, this black gourd of mine is only temporary. If you don't master the control technique within 5 years, or if you don't refine it within 1,000,000 years, I'll disappear instantly. You won't be able to find me because you won't be allowed to enter this world again. The child said. I understand. Dongbu Shuang nodded. This was a terrifying weapon that was comparable to the Sun Star. Of course, he had to give it his all. This stone door not descending is also a test for you. You have to obtain the black gourd despite the other paragon's attacks. Furthermore, you have to successfully master the technique within 5 years under the other paragon's attacks. The child continued. Don't worry. This world won't give birth to a ruler. Even if a ruler is born, he'll be forcefully expelled. At most, you'll be obstructed by the paragons. If you can't even deal with a few paragons, or even die in their hands, you won't be qualified to become a void walker. I understand. This is all part of the test. Dongbush Shuang smiled. Remember, I'll give you 5 years, and that will be the real 5 years. Even time acceleration is included in the test. You won't be able to use any tricks. The child reminded. Dongbush Shuang nodded. His expression was grim. After comprehending it once, he knew that it was a strange technique. It wouldn't be easy to master it. The child chuckled. I won't accompany you anymore. You deal with it yourself. With that, he disappeared without a trace. Dongbush Shuang looked at the black gourd in his robes. With a thought, the black gourd disappeared and was stored into his storage treasure. He then walked out of the ancient shrine. They'll be here soon. If I don't deal with them, I won't be able to cultivate in peace. Dongbush Shuang flew out of the ancient shrine. Paragon Emperor Su, Golden Fire Palace Master, Feihua Palace Master, Spectre Prefecture Master, and Paragon Ken Huang. These 5 paragons used to stand at the peak of the world. They had always been fighting with each other openly and secretly. This time, at least on the surface, they were working together. This was because the legendary black gourd might have fallen into the hands of world deity Feishue. We paragons couldn't get the black gourd. Could it be that a world deity got it? Don't worry. It won't be that easy to get the black gourd. With the help of Spectre Prefecture Master, they continued to teleport forward. Very soon. South. After teleporting for nearly 100 million kilometers, they arrived at the capital of the Su Empire. The 5 of them stood in the air and saw the most dazzling palace of the Su Empire. There was a black-robed young man standing there. He looked over and smiled. You're all here, 5 of you, not one less. Chapter 708. Dongbush Shuang stood at the top of the palace. His robe fluttered in the wind and he looked very relaxed. Seeing the attitude and confidence of this world deity flying snow, it made the hearts of the 5 paragons who originally had their own thoughts tremble. They became even more uneasy. Universe God Feishue, you got the black gourd? Reverend Emperor Su asked. Feihua Palace Master, Golden Fire Palace Master, and the others looked at Dongbush Shuang. Yes, I got it. You're too late. Dongbush Shuang nodded and smiled. Swoosh. The master of the Spectre Prefecture, who was wrapped in a black robe and only revealed a pair of purple eyes, teleported to the doorway of the shrine of the ancient shrine in the distance. Then, he quickly flew inside. Through the stone door that had been opened long ago, he could easily see the top of the flight of stairs in the shrine of the ancient shrine. The black gourd that should have been there had disappeared. Phew. The master of Spectre Prefecture quickly returned to his 4 companions after he teleported out of the ancient shrine. His 4 companions looked at him, and the master of Spectre Prefecture nodded, but his eyes were still on Dongbush Shuang. The black gourd is really with Universe God Feishue. What? He really got it? They were shocked and nervous. Because since the birth of the world and the descent of the ancient shrine, the person who got the black gourd would be able to rule the entire world. He could even leave and enter the vast universe. The legend had been spreading. Over the years, there were people who lifted the stone door, but no one succeeded in getting the black gourd. Never in history. Then, the legend was broken. A mysterious Universe God Feishue took the black gourd. What kind of power does the black gourd possess? Universe God Feishue's power has increased tremendously, right? The 5 of them had many thoughts in their heads. After all, according to the legend, the person who got the black gourd would be able to rule the entire world. How could he rule without power? They felt that the black gourd definitely possessed great power. Now that Guest Feishue had such power, he might be able to rule the entire world. Universe God Feishue. The black-haired gold of fire palatial lord said. I heard that obtaining the black gourd would allow one to leave this world and enter the vast universe outside. I wonder if it's true? It's true. Dongbu Shuang nodded, not hiding anything. It was indeed true. If he failed the test, he would be expelled from this world and enter the vast universe of the God world and abyss. If he succeeded, he would be able to enter and exit this world even more easily. The outer universe? The Golden Fire Palace Master, Feihua Palace Master, and the others held their breaths. They had been living in this world for a long time and had a yearning for a vaster world. Can you take me into that universe? If you want to bring me away, I won't stop you, said the Golden Fire Palace Master. Can it bring us into the outer universe? Spectre Prefecture Master asked. There were other supremacies who wanted to speak. No. Dongbu Shuang shook his head. The reason why the answer was so straightforward was because the artifact spirit had sent him a voice transmission. You will be able to control the black gourd if you manage to master the technique within 5 years. You will be able to use the black gourd's power to leave this world. If you fail to master the technique, you will be expelled from this world. Regardless of the outcome, you are forbidden from bringing any other living beings with you, even if it is a wild beast. Naturally, if you become the new Void Walker, I might be able to make an exception. I'm unable to bring all of you with me. Borrowing the power of the black gourd, I can only leave by myself. Dongbu Shuang said. The 5 supremacies fell silent. Supremacy Ken Wang couldn't help but ask, World Deity Feishue, is the power of the black gourd really that powerful? It can even rule over the entire world? Yes, it's extremely powerful. Ruling over the entire world is an easy feat, its power far surpasses your imagination. Dongbu Shui Ying's voice was filled with astonishment. That's right, the fireball contained within the black gourd was comparable to the sun star. If one could unleash its true might, even a tiny bit of it would be enough to kill a ruler. However, it should be extremely difficult to use it. Even after comprehending that technique, one could only gain an initial control over it. Far surpasses our imagination? The 5 supremacies felt an itch in their hearts. What kind of terrifying power was that? The black gourd might be very powerful, but if he had truly grasped it, there would be no need for him to tell us so much. Supremacy Empress Su said, If we join forces and kill him, the black gourd will be ours. World Deity Feishue. Spectre Prefecture Master said solemnly, As long as you are willing to share the power of the black gourd with us, we can choose not to act. There's no other way. Dongbu Shuang shook his head. Then let's act. Kill. Kill. Although the 5 supremacies had their own thoughts, Dongbu Shuang wasn't willing to cooperate, nor was he willing to share the black gourd with them. He didn't agree to help them enter the vast cosmos. They could only act together. Who? Dongbu Shuang, who was standing at the highest point of the roof, suddenly disappeared. And then? The 5 supremacies who were about to unleash their killing technique were startled. He does indeed have a technique similar to my Spectre world. Spectre Prefecture Master transmitted. The 5 supremacies had already guessed it. The main reason was that Dongbu Shuang had used too little time to rush from the Chung family to the Su Empire. It was impossible for him to fly normally, so he must have used teleportation. It was just that they thought that it was some special treasure that could do it. But from the looks of it, it was similar to Spectre Prefecture Masters. Pooh! 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 5 spear shadows appeared from the void and attacked the 5 supremacies at the same time. At Dongbu Shuiying's level, the speed of his spear was too fast. He stabbed out 5 times at the same time. The attack from the Mirage world was too sudden. Even though Supremacy Ken Huang and Feihua Palace Master sensed it at the last moment, they were unable to block it in time and their chests were pierced through. This was a black spear with dark red patterns on it. It was a true god weapon of the eternal Tao of slaughter. In this world, even a weak true god weapon was rare. There had never been a true god weapon of the eternal Tao of slaughter. When the Void Walkers left behind this world, absolute arts might seem precious, but to those who had already grasped them, they could easily create copies of them. Leaving behind many absolute arts was just a matter of convenience. As for weapons, they needed materials to forge them. To the Void Walkers, they had to pay a higher price. Thus, there were very few true God weapons in this world. The Blood Serpent Spear was the first eternal Tao true God weapon to appear in this world. The absolute art of the Tao of Slaughter, the Tao of Slaughter that Dongbush Shuang created, and this true God weapon of the eternal Tao of Slaughter. It was truly a perfect match. In order to bring Dongbush Ying's attack to a whole new level, he had already mastered the 6 sword styles of Sever Sword style. Previously, he had been comprehending the usage of the laws of profound mysteries within. Now, he naturally used it on his spear. The Golden Fire Palace Master's body turned into a dazzling golden flame. When the spear pierced through his body was still intact. Following which, his expression changed as he roared. "There's hex poison!" Paragon Emperor Su's body was surrounded by countless threads as he tried his best to defend against this spear. Although he coughed out blood due to the terrifying might of this spear, his injuries were still relatively light. The Spectre Prefecture Master instantly entered the Spectre world, causing Dongbush Ying's spear to pierce through thin air. However, Paragon Ken Huang and Feihua Palace Master were in a pitiful state. This time's attack. This was the first time that Dongbush Ying used his full strength. The power of the Myriad Devil True Body was completely unleashed. He even used the Blood Serpent Spear. Paragon Ken Huang's body was instantly destroyed. Feihua Palace Master's remaining life force was also quickly exhausted by the power of the Blood Serpent Spear and the Hex Poison. Dongbush Ying appeared once again. He stood there with a black spear in his hand. His gaze swept across the area. The remaining 3 paragons were slightly stunned. A single exchange. 2 paragons were dead? He has completely suppressed us. Paragon Emperor Su and Golden Fire Palace Master exchanged glances. The Spectre Prefecture Master rejoiced. Fortunately, he could hide in the Spectre world. Otherwise, he would have been killed. Dongbush Ying was very calm. After opening the Mirage Dao, he was destined to be a terrifying assassin. He could suddenly execute his killer move, making it hard for the enemy to defend against it. How could ordinary venerables withstand his killer move with their defenseless bodies? That was why he managed to achieve such a result. "Are you sure you want to continue fighting with me for the Black Gourd?" Dongbush Ying looked at the 3 of them. His voice reverberated through the world. Looking at the black-robed youth standing in midair, the 3 felt helpless in their hearts. At this moment, Dongbush Ying was a little nervous. He was intentionally bluffing. He wasn't afraid that the other party would snatch the Black Gourd, but he was afraid that the other party would disturb his cultivation. The next 5 years were extremely important, and he mustn't be disturbed. With his understanding of the many absolute arts in this world, even if he was hiding in the Mirage world, they could still use karma to determine his approximate location. They could still disturb him. "You guys have no hope at all. You guys don't have any hope of obtaining the Black Gourd. If you continue fighting, the 3 holy lands will be destroyed." Dongbush Ying continued to threaten them. Chapter 709. Dongbush Ying was most worried that the other party would affect his cultivation. In the end, he might not be able to control the Black Gourd within 5 years and be expelled from the world. That would be such a shame. Luckily, the 3 reverends, Emperor Su, the Master of Golden Fire Palace, and the Master of Spectre Prefecture, didn't know that. They thought that what Dongbush Ying said made sense. "We have no hope at all. He can enter the world that he created himself like Spectre. By then, our normal attacks wouldn't be able to touch him. Even if we tried our best, we could only harass him. It's impossible to kill him," the Master of Golden Fire Palace said. "Plus, his power is stronger than mine and Emperor Su's. Even if we were to fight him head-on, we wouldn't be able to win. He can't kill us, but we can't kill him either." The Master of Spectre Prefecture creased his eyebrows. But once we split up, Emperor Su and I would be in danger of dying if we were to fight one-on-one, the Master of Golden Fire Palace said. The Reverend Emperor Su kept quiet. He wasn't willing to admit it. He couldn't even accept the fact that the treasure in the ancient shrine, the Black Gourd, was taken away by Universe God Feishue. However, he understood that they really couldn't do anything to Universe God Feishue. Even if the 5 of them attacked together, they wouldn't stand a chance to snatch the Black Gourd. I'm not interested in ruling the world. If I was interested, I would have built a new sanctuary a long time ago, Dongbush Shuang said casually. Then, his eyes beamed with anticipation. After some time, I will leave this world and head to the vast universe. That's what I'm looking forward to. The 3 reverends were relieved when they heard that. Leaving soon? That's great. Universe God Feishue was really low profile. He was so powerful, but he was willing to be a guest in the Chung family. He had never built a sanctuary, and he obviously had no ambition. The 3 reverends discussed secretly through voice transmission. Even Fei Hua Palace Master and Reverend Ken Huang, who had lost another doppelganger, discussed through voice transmission. In the end, they came to a decision. Since there was no hope, there was no need to fight to the death with Universe God Feishue. Universe God Feishue is much stronger than we expected. There's really no need to continue this battle, Reverend Emperor Su said loudly. Then let's stop the battle. I wonder how long will it take for guest Feishue to leave? If it's fast, it'll take a few years. If it's slow, it'll take 10,000 years at most, Dongbush Shuang said. I've accepted a disciple previously. After teaching him seriously for a while, I'll leave. Yes. The 3 venerables were satisfied. 10,000 years at most, which was a very short period of time for them. Universe God Feishue. Golden Fire Palace Master smiled. I'd like to ask. I heard that you used to use a sword. Why did you change to a spear? The other 2 reverends looked at Dongbush Shuang. That's right. Previously, he had been using swordsmanship and its power was extraordinary. This time, he actually used a black spear and its power was obviously stronger and more domineering. I've always been best at using a spear. Dongbush Shuang grinned. Then before? Golden Fire Palace Master was confused. To comprehend the 6 sword styles of Sever. Dongbush Shuang said casually. Of course, that wasn't the real answer. When he first came to this world, Dongbush Shuang was worried that the top existences in this world could spy on the outside universe and know of the existence of Dongbush Shuang. In order to prevent himself from being exposed, he changed his appearance, and even changed his weapon. But after he got the Black Gourd and understood everything, he knew that they couldn't spy on the outside universe. Hence, he naturally wasn't worried. 6 sword styles of Sever? The 3 reverends nodded faintly. However, they were still confused. Even if he comprehended a unique skill, he still used a sword during battle? Dongbush Shuang smiled and his appearance changed slightly. The 3 of them were stunned. This is my true appearance. Dongbush Shuang smiled. Previously, when I entered the Chung family, I was worried that someone might have seen me before. Hence, I changed slightly. I see. Universe God Feishue was too polite to the Chung family. As long as Universe God Feishue displayed his power, they would definitely hand over their unique skills respectfully. Reverend Emperor Su said. The most important thing is the process. Dongbush Shuang smiled. Everyone, since it's done, I shall make a move first. Then, he teleported and disappeared. The 3 reverends looked at one another. Facing Universe God Feishue was really stressful. After all, he didn't use the mysterious Black Gourd from the start. I hope he leaves within 10,000 years. Spectre Mansion Master said. For the next 10,000 years, we shall stay together temporarily. Don't let him take us down one by one. Reverend Emperor Su said. The 3 of them were willing to accept the outcome, but they weren't in a good mood. They had teamed up and prepared well. However, Dongbush Shui Ying's 5 spear strikes had shocked them. His spear skills were so ferocious? And he could teleport? They instantly lost confidence in their original plan. In addition, Dongbush Shuang wasn't willing to continue fighting. Hence, they naturally took advantage of the situation. Deep in the mountains, on the peak of a mountain, Dongbush Shuang, who was dressed in a black robe, appeared. He smiled faintly and waved his hand. Countless bamboos flew up from the bamboo forest at the foot of the mountain. Countless branches were sliced cleanly in the air. Pieces of bamboos landed on the mountain peak and formed a bamboo house. At the same time, the land veins within 100 million miles started to change. A huge formation was formed, isolating the 100 million miles from the outside world. Anyone from the outside world would be trapped in an illusion. With the illusion formation, the 5 reverends would be discovered the moment they entered. They don't know that I still need to comprehend the technique. They are most afraid of disturbing me. With just a few simple sentences, they gave up. Dongbush Shuang was in a good mood. Being able to make them give up was also because he had displayed his full strength from the start. If he didn't have the ability to teleport, the 5 of them would definitely work together and use some treasures to fight him. After all, they had clones. This technique. Dongbush Shuang entered the bamboo house. There was a bamboo bed and a bamboo table. Sitting cross-legged, he took out a bottle of fermented fruit wine and poured himself a cup. He was in a good mood as he drank it. Following which, he waved his hand and placed the black gourd on the table. He started to focus on comprehending the technique left behind by the Void Walker. Within his sea of consciousness, golden runes flashed. The ripples of each rune were extremely profound. This time, Dongbush Shuang calmed his heart and started to comprehend. Far away in the material world of the universe, the white-robed main body was also doing his best to comprehend. The situation in this world was changing. All the powerful existences were trying to find out about the battle between world deity Feishue and the 5 reverends in the sky of the Su Empire. Many people had seen it, including powerful existences. Thus, they were able to understand what had happened after asking around. A single exchange. 2 reverends died in battle. The Golden Fire Palace Master and the other 2 reverends finally compromised? Although most of them didn't know that the black gourd had landed in the hands of Dongbush Shuang, the scene of that battle was enough to shock all the superpowers. There were even powerful existences who took the initiative to request to meet with Dongbush Shuang. Even the Chung family transmitted messages to Dongbush Shuang. To this, Dongbush Shuang's reply was, "I'm not interested in building a sacred ground. I'm currently in seclusion. Don't disturb me." The sun rose and set. The wind blew, and the rain fell. The weeds on the mountain peak turned from green to yellow. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years passed. Regardless of whether it was his avatar in this world or his original body in his hometown, the Xia people's world, they were all in seclusion. He even told his wife not to disturb him unless the sky was falling. Boom! The sky was filled with dark clouds. Lightning snakes wreaked havoc in the vast sky. Heavy rain poured down. Dongbush Shuang stood in front of the bamboo house, next to the cliff of the mountain peak, allowing the rain to pour on his body. "It's been 3 years and I still haven't mastered it. I've already comprehended thousands of techniques, but they're all wrong. They're all wrong! No matter how I comprehend them, they're all wrong!" Dongbush Shuang raised his head and looked at the lightning in the sky. His eyes were filled with anxiousness and violence. "What's going on? Where did I go wrong?" His anxiousness and terrifying willpower caused the lightning in the sky to freeze. Following which, they were completely annihilated. The dark clouds in the sky disappeared. The rain disappeared, revealing a clear sky. Dongbush Shuang stood on the mountain peak and looked at the sky coldly. Chapter 710. Every time he failed, he would summarize his experience and try to comprehend it again. After comprehending the cultivation technique that he believed to be the most promising, he would try it again with confidence. However, the black gourd in front of him remained unmoved. The terrifying might contained within it easily incinerated the energy that he sent in. After failing time and time again, thousands of failures, even Dongbush Shuang started to feel anxious. He had tried many methods. In fact, he did not even summarize his experience, and simply tried to comprehend it randomly. He would comprehend one technique after another and try to guess. Who knew, maybe he would be right. He spent 3 months to comprehend more than 2,000 cultivation techniques. However, all of them ended up in failure. Who? Dongbu Shuang exhaled deeply. A mountain in front of him was directly destroyed by the air current he exhaled. Violent hurricanes formed in the surroundings. Fortunately, in order to prevent any disturbances, there were no humans within 50,000 kilometers of him. Even if there were people who used to live here, they would be teleported away by Dongbu Shuang using his Mirage Dao. After calming himself down, Dongbu Shuang turned and returned to his bamboo house. He sat cross-legged in the bamboo house and poured himself a cup of precious fruit wine. After savoring it, he finally regained his composure. I definitely can't continue like this, Dongbu Shuang thought to himself. I have already failed thousands of times. Even if I were to continue comprehending these techniques in the remaining 2 years, I would most likely fail again. Perhaps I have been thinking wrongly all this while. Dongbu Shuang closed his eyes. Within his sea of consciousness, there were still countless runes flashing. These runes formed a complete cultivation technique. Every rune is filled with endless profoundness. If I were to completely comprehend a single rune, it would take me a very long time. Comprehending those countless runes once would take far more than 5 years. Dongbu Shuang thought to himself. Therefore, I instinctively rejected this method. I have always been worried that I do not have enough time. 5 years is too short. Therefore, I would only try to comprehend every single rune, combining the profoundness of the runes to comprehend the entire cultivation technique. Dongbu Shuang sensed the countless runes. Perhaps I should focus on one rune. The first character. Dongbu Shuang used all of his consciousness to sense the first rune of this technique. The symbol's radiance flickered, fluctuating, incomparably profound. Dongbu Shuang studied the runes attentively, comprehending all the ripples and mysteries contained in the runes. Gradually, he gained some understanding in his heart, and in the end, he managed to form a technique of his own. He can actually form a technique after thoroughly comprehending a single character? Dongbu Shuang opened his eyes in shock. However, it did take a long time for him to fully comprehend a single rune. It took him a full 3 months. At this rate, he would only be able to comprehend 7 more characters in less than 2 years. Let's see if I can control the black gourd. Dongbu Shuang waved his hand and the black gourd appeared on the table once more. He willed it. Immediately, a white character formed from luminous sun force flew out. However, it was different from the large number of characters in the past. This time, only a single character was formed. However, this character was clearly much larger and more profound. When the rune flew into the black gourd, it was silently incinerated by the terrifying power within. I failed? Dongbu Shuang was startled. I don't have any other methods. Let's continue. Dongbu Shuang closed his eyes. Having failed thousands of times previously, he kept the black gourd and continued to comprehend the second character. The second character was also flickering, emitting mysterious ripples. He studied it carefully. The more he comprehended, the more he realized that there were many similarities between the second character and the first character. After all, it was the same type of character. Thus, the speed of his comprehension was much faster. In just a month, he had completely comprehended the second character. There seems to be a mistake in my comprehension of the first character? After Dongbu Shuang comprehended the second character, he started to have doubts about his comprehension of the first character. He immediately modified it and formed a brand new technique. Ying. When he executed this technique, a white character was formed as well. However, it still failed to enter the black gourd. Dongbu Shuang had failed on the first path. Right now, he had already decided on the second path. After all, he had no other choice. He spent 20 days on the third character. He realized that there were still some mistakes in his comprehension. He tried to modify it again, but to no avail. He spent 15 days on the 4th character. He spent 12 days on the 5th character. He spent 11 days on the 6th character. He spent 10 days on the 7th character. He spent 10 days on the 8th character. Every single time, Ying would alter his original comprehension. Even though he would always fail in forming the white characters, he had an indescribable feeling that he had found the correct path, and that he was nearing success in modifying the technique. One must know. In the first 3 years, he had comprehended a new technique. He had comprehended thousands of techniques, but they were all wrong. Now that he was studying each character, he was able to comprehend the same technique. However, there seemed to be some mistakes and he had to modify them. A thick layer of snow covered the entire mountain range, including the mountain peak where Ying was cultivating in seclusion. Ying pushed open the bamboo door, pushing the snow away. Stepping on the thick snow, he left behind deep footprints. He walked to the cliff and sat down cross-legged. He sat on the soft snow and closed his eyes to continue comprehending. He was already used to comprehending the techniques left behind by the void walkers. However, he would often change his location. Sometimes, he would go to the lake at the foot of the mountain. Sometimes, he would sit on a thick ancient tree branch. However, most of the time, he would stay in the bamboo house or the cliff. The 51st character. Ying sensed the golden characters that appeared in his sea of consciousness. He was trying to comprehend the 51st character. This time, it was much shorter. He finished comprehending it in 8 days. He then made some slight modifications to the technique that he had comprehended. That's right. Ying waved his hand. The black gourd appeared on top of the snow. Following which, his luminous sun force flew out and condensed into a character. When the character was condensed, it was white. Suddenly, a formless ripple flowed within the character. As the ripple flowed, the character's color changed rapidly. First, it turned pale gold. Then it turned golden. A golden character floated in front of him. Ying was stunned. His heartbeat quickened. This was the first time such a strange scene had appeared. He was filled with anticipation. This time, it might be different. Who? The golden character seeped into the black gourd. 1. It was as though a key had been inserted into the keyhole. The original spirit designs within the black gourd immediately began to circulate. A formless energy started to form, enveloping and controlling the incomparably hot fireball within the black gourd. The size of this fireball was extremely huge. It was comparable to the sun star. Its power was also incomparably strong. The flames it emitted contained a destructive power. However, the formless energy within the black gourd had completely enveloped this fireball. No matter how strong the fireball was, it was unable to incinerate this formless energy. So heavy. Ying could feel the incomparably heavy weight of this fireball. In fact, the formless pressure had even seeped into his true deity heart, causing it to tremble slightly. It was like a weak child trying to lift a stone block. It was too heavy. The difference between their levels was too great. It was too strenuous to control it. However, Ying had a feeling that if he were to forcefully control it, he should be able to control a strand of this terrifying fireball. This was already the limit that his true deity heart could withstand. Even if it was just a strand of energy, it would be sufficient to instantly kill him. Congratulations, congratulations! You have finally comprehended the technique to control a protective treasure. I'm getting anxious. If you fail, I would have to wait again. I really wonder how many epochs I would have to wait for the next one with potential. The child wearing the red dudu appeared on top of the black gourd. The red dudu child was extremely happy. Chapter 7:11. Ying grabbed the black gourd with one hand and sensed the mystical array within it. The array had completely enveloped the incomparably powerful fireball. The array is the core of the black gourd. With just this array, I can easily control the sun star. As he sensed, the array was vast and mysterious. It was even more mysterious than the countless worlds in the material realm. It was even more powerful than the hundreds of millions of meteorites in the Lake Heart Island. The level was too high. With the help of the technique left behind by the Voidwalkers, he could barely control a trace of its power. 1. Dombush Shuang tried to control the power within the black gourd. Instantly, a terrifying ripple began to accumulate within the black gourd. The formless pressure that the fireball exerted on the true deity heart was increasing rapidly. It was like a huge boulder placed there. It would be fine if one did not move it, but if one tried to move it, the pressure would be too great. Stop, stop, stop. Hurry up and stop. The red undergarment child on top of the black gourd sensed what was happening and hurriedly tried to stop him. What's wrong? Dombush Shuang hurriedly stopped. Beads of perspiration appeared on his forehead. You sure have guts. The weapon spirit, the red undergarment child, said. You have just grasped this technique and know nothing about the black gourd. Yet you are already controlling its power? I'm just trying. Dombush Shuang felt an itch in his heart. After all, this was the most terrifying power he had ever controlled. He even had a feeling that if he could control this power, he would be able to face the tyrannical primordial demon head-on. Although he was only controlling a trace of the power, it was still so vast and shocking. Listen to me first. The red undergarment child said helplessly. You have only passed the second trial. There is still the final and most important trial, to refine the black gourd within 1,000,000 years. You have yet to refine it. You are not even a new Voidwalker. Do you think that old fellow would allow you to control the black gourd so easily? Dombush Shuang was stunned. Only then did he realize that although he had the black gourd, he had yet to refine it. If he could not refine it within 1,000,000 years, the black gourd would automatically leave. You didn't refine it. You just used the technique to forcefully control it. You can feel it, right? Just sensing it brings about great pressure. Once you start trying to control it, the pressure will be even stronger, right? The red undergarment child said. Dombush Shuang nodded his head. You haven't truly used it yet. The moment you do, the level of this fireball's strength is too high. Even a trace of its strength will cause your true deity heart to suffer a backlash. Even if you have a technique to control it, based on the strength of my understanding of your true deity heart, the injuries to your true deity heart will require 10,000 years to recover, said the red undergarment child. Using it once will require 10,000 years. What kind of injury would take so long? Dombush Shuang was puzzled. He had guessed that he would be injured if he were to forcefully control it. But even if he split his soul into two to cultivate his clone, he would be able to recover in a short period of time. Why would it take 10,000 years for his soul to be injured? If you want to leave this world, you'll have to use the black gourd. Won't you know when you experience it for yourself? The red undergarment child said. Fortunately, your cultivation of the heart is not bad. If your cultivation of the heart was too low, forcefully controlling it might cause your soul to collapse. Dombush Shuang let out a sigh of relief. No wonder he had to obtain the black gourd. It was so powerful that if he couldn't withstand it, he wouldn't be able to control it at all. In that case, if I were to refine the black gourd, I wouldn't suffer a backlash, right? Dombush Shuang asked. Once you refine it, you will become the master of the black gourd. It will be your protective treasure. Naturally, it won't harm you, the red undergarment child said. Dombush Shuang nodded. That was good. If he were to use it once in the future, he would be injured for 10,000 years. That would be too pitiful. However, it was still too early to think about this. After all, refining the black gourd within 1,000,000 years was no easy task. Without a specialized technique, not even hegemons would be able to control it. One could imagine how difficult it would be to refine it. I still have 1,000,000 years. Dombush Shuang wasn't in a rush. When are you preparing to leave this world? The red undergarment child asked. I'll be able to leave as long as I use the black gourd. I've accepted a disciple in this world. I can't just ignore him like this, Dombush Shuang said. And once you leave, you won't be able to return unless you become a Voidwalker, the red undergarment child said. That's right, It's very likely that I won't be able to see that disciple of mine again. Dongbu Shuang nodded. Little Seventh had been with him since he was 6 years old. 1,000 years had passed. Naturally, Dongbu Shuang had deep feelings for his disciple, Dongbu Shuang. Chung family. Currently, the status of the Chung family was slightly different. That was because the strongest existence in this world deity Fei Xue, was once a guest elder of their clan. Moreover, he was also the master of the clan's 7th prince, Chong Yen. Even the 3 Holy Lands didn't dare to bully the Chung family in the slightest. They were afraid of angering the powerful and terrifying world deity Fei Xue. It's been almost 5 years, but Master still hasn't returned. Seated in front of a study table, Little Seventh held a sword arts book in his hands. However, his mind wasn't on the book. I heard from my father that it's very likely that Master will leave this world, never to return. Little Seventh felt somewhat sad in his heart. It can't be that he won't even see him one last time before leaving, right? When he was 6 years old, he was still young and naive. When he first saw Dongbu Shui Ying's sword arts, he cried and begged to take him as his master. In the blink of an eye, 1,000 years had passed. The time he spent with his master was even more than the time he spent with his father. Thinking that his master might not return, Little Seventh naturally felt sad and unwilling. Who? A figure appeared in the study. Dongbu Shuang looked at the white-robed young man who was in a daze and chuckled. Little Seventh. Little Chong Seven abruptly turned his head and saw the black-clothed young man behind him. Although his appearance had changed slightly and was only 60 to 70% similar to before, Little Chong Seven did not doubt the familiar aura and the familiar smile. After all, the appearance of an expert could easily change. He hastily put down the book and quickly stood up. He said happily, Master. Amen, prepare yourself. From tomorrow onwards, you will follow me to roam this world, Dongbu Shuang said. Little Seventh's eyes brightened. He thought that his master would leave after saying a few words. And now, he was even bringing him to roam the world. Yes. Little Seventh immediately acknowledged. On the second day, under the warm send-off of Chongsher forefather, Dongbu Shuang brought his disciple Little Seventh to roam this world. Even after coming to this world for so long, he had yet to properly observe this vast world. Since Little Seventh was weak and had cultivated for a short period of time, the places he had been to were even lesser. The two of them roamed the world. Along the way, Dongbu Shuang would secretly guide his disciple in his cultivation. He would even purposely assign some tasks to him. Naturally, he did not need much time to guide his disciple. 99% of his time was still spent on refining the black gourd. As time passed, 13,000 years passed in the blink of an eye. Hong, a white-robed young man, sat cross-legged by the lake. Above him was an incomparably huge illusion of an ocean that spanned hundreds of millions of kilometers. Beside him stood a black-robed young man. He was none other than Dongbu Shuang. He has finally become a world deity. Dongbu Shuang nodded slightly. Seeing his disciple become a world deity, he felt relieved. After a long time, after breaking through, Little Seven stood up. His face was filled with joy. Dongbu Shuang tapped with his finger. A stream of light flew out and entered between Little Seven's eyebrows. A large amount of information flowed in. It was the detailed analysis of the other Grade 1 deity hearts. It was also Dongbu Shui Ying's understanding and mastery of these Grade 1 deity hearts. He was imparting them to his disciple. Thank you, Master. Little Seventh regained his consciousness and said, You comprehended the splitting heaven deity heart on your own. I have also imparted you the guidance of the other 8 Grade 1 deity hearts. From now on, your cultivation will depend on yourself. Dongbu Shuang said as he took out a storage wristband and handed it over. There are some external items in this wristband. They will be helpful to your cultivation. Of course, your Chung family has a deep foundation. I believe your father will do his best to nurture you. These external items are just a small token of my appreciation. Yes. Little Seventh received the storage wristband. His eyes were slightly moist. he understood that they were finally parting. You are already a world deity. If you become an almighty, your lifespan will be even longer. If there's a chance in the future, we might meet again. Dombush Shuang said. There's one more thing that I have to tell you before I leave. Little Seventh was stunned. I, your master, came from the outer universe. Dombush Shuang smiled. My real name is Dombush Shuang. From the outer universe? Little Seventh was slightly stunned. Let's part ways here. Dombush Shuang smiled and teleported away. Master! Little Seventh could not help but shout. He looked around and understood that his master had really left. Master? Dombush Shuang? Little Seventh muttered. High up in the sky. Dombush Shuang was still trying to refine the black gourd in his hand. You've parted with your disciple, right? Are you preparing to leave? The red undergarment child appeared on top of the black gourd. There's one more thing that I haven't done. Dombush Shuang smiled. There are so many absolute arts in this world. If I were to leave just like that, I would regret it. There are very few absolute arts in the outer universe. Chapter 7:12. The red undergarment child said solemnly. I have to remind you that this world was left behind by that old fogey, the Void Walker. The earliest life forms in this world were actually from your cosmos. It was that old fogey who sent the first batch of humans here. Dombush Shuang nodded. He had also heard of a legend in this world. It was said that at the beginning of the world, a group of humans descended along with an ancient shrine. Listening to the words of the weapon spirit, this was indeed the case. That old fogey, the Void Walker, came to your cosmos and roamed around. While hiding his strength, he befriended a good friend. The two of them had an extremely good relationship. That friend of his eventually died before he could transcend as a stage 4 world deity. The red undergarment child sighed. Before he died, the Void Walker told his friend about his identity. The Void Walker tried his best to help him, but his friend still failed to transcend. Before his death, the Void Walker wished for the people of his hometown to live a peaceful and happy life. Thus, the Void Walker left behind a world and moved his friend's entire tribe into this world. There would be no external enemies. At the same time, he left behind many cultivation techniques and absolute arts. The red undergarment child said. At the same time, he left behind an order. You are not to bring the life forms here away. As for the absolute arts of this world, if they are unique, you are not to bring them away either. So that's how it is. Dombush Shuang shook his head. A few epochs have passed. His friend's tribe would have probably been wiped out by the end of an epoch. Currently, the humans of this world are existences from the epochs after that. Thus, if you were to become a Void Walker, you would be able to decide how to deal with them. The red undergarment child laughed. Since you have yet to pass the test, you naturally do not have the authority to deal with them. Dombush Shuang understood. If I can't bring the unique copy away, then I can bring away the non-unique ones, right? Dombush Shuang asked. Yes. The red undergarment child nodded. Dombush Shuang smiled. That was not bad. After all, as long as one completely learned an absolute art, they would be able to create their own original copy. Just like how he had mastered the 6 Seversword styles, he could easily create another original copy. After a few epochs in this world, there were indeed a few absolute arts that had more than one original copy. Sky Fire Palace. Boom! Dombush Shuang transformed into a dazzling beam of light and flew at high speed. His body was surrounded by lightning and fire as he charged into the main hall of the Sky Fire Palace. With such great fanfare, the 2 Sky Fire Palace masters naturally knew about it immediately. It's Universe God Feishue. He is Universe God Feishue? The entire Sky Fire Palace was in a state of anxiety. Those powerful existences could only watch from afar, not daring to intervene. Logically speaking, powerful existences were stronger than world deities. However, world deity Feishue had changed this common sense. This was a heaven-defying world deity. Feihua Palace Master, Paragon Ken Wang and the others couldn't even withstand a single move from this existence. Even the Golden Fire Palace Master and the others were at a disadvantage. Rumor had it that he could teleport and kill whoever he wanted to. The reason why the 5 venerables from the 3 sanctuaries stayed together was because they were worried that they would be defeated one by one. It could be seen how powerful Universe God Feishua was. Universe God Feishua, I wonder why you are here at my Sky Fire Palace. Suddenly, 2 illusory figures appeared. They were the Golden Fire Palace Master and Feihua Palace Master. However, they were incarnations that descended through karma. Their original bodies and incarnations weren't in the Sky Fire Palace. Feihua Palace Master's expression was complicated. After all, it was said that he was stabbed to death by Universe God Feishua. Hoo. The other 3 illusory figures appeared too. They were the other 3 venerables. Now, the 5 venerables of this world had descended with their incarnations. Universe God Feishua, you said that you would leave after 10,000 years. It has already been 13,000 years. Paragon Emperor Su said. The 5 venerables stared at Dongbua Shuiying. When are you leaving? Don't worry. My disciple has become a universe god. It's time for me to leave, Dongbua Shuiying said. However, before this, there are many absolute skills in this world that I haven't seen before. Hence, I need to look for the original copy. Don't tell me you want to take the absolute skill away? The Golden Fire Palace Master said angrily. The original copy of the absolute skill is passed down from generation to generation. If you take it away, what will the later generations learn? The other 4 venerables were furious too. Of course, it was just an act on the surface. The Golden Fire Palace Master was truly worried about the later generations. As for Paragon Emperor Su and Spectre Prefecture Master, they didn't really care. As long as they were strong, they wouldn't need to care about the cultivation of the later generations. If Dongbua Shuiying wanted to snatch it away, Emperor Su and the rest wouldn't stop him. Don't worry. If it's the only copy, I won't take it away. If it's not the only copy, then I will take one, Dongbua Shuiying said. The Golden Fire Palace Master heaved a sigh of relief. The other 4 venerables looked relieved on the surface. In the following days, Shuiying had traveled across the 3 great holy grounds and 9 great clans. He had learned all the absolute arts once, and it could be considered as broadening his horizons. Most likely, he was only confident of cultivating the other Tao of Slaughter absolute art, the Great Extinction Scripture. The other absolute skills wouldn't reach great success. At most, he would only reach small success like the luminous sun and extreme annihilation mysterious body. With his current strength, if he didn't reach great success, these absolute skills wouldn't increase his strength. They would only increase his knowledge. Who? A figure appeared in the desolate desert. It was the black-robed Dongbua Shuiying. Dongbua Shuiying revealed a smile. I learned the 6 sword styles of Sever and the Great Extinction Scripture. At the same time, I brought 5 original copies of absolute skills. All in all, I have a total of 7 complete absolute skills. Including the first half of the Blood Demon Scripture, I have a total of 7 incomplete absolute skills. This was extremely shocking. After all, in the divine world and abyss, only sovereigns would have so many original copies of absolute skills. However, there was a problem with these absolute skills. At the peak, one could only reach the paragon level. One must know that in the divine world and abyss, there were some absolute skills that even sovereigns could cultivate. For example, the complete version of the myriad demon true body was beyond the sovereign level. Clearly, even though the Void Walkers had left behind many absolute skills, they also believed that the chances of a sovereign being born in this world was extremely low. Thus, they threw away these basic absolute skills. No matter what, it's still 7.5 absolute skills. Dongbua Shuiying was in a good mood. In the past, he wanted to give his wife an absolute skill, but he couldn't find a suitable one. But now, he had one. Let's begin. Dongbua Shuiying stretched out his hand, and a huge black gourd appeared in his hand. The red Didu child emerged from the black gourd. Are we leaving this world? Amen. Dongbua Shuiying nodded. Be careful. It will take 10,000 years for you to recover from the injuries you received from using it once. The red-did child smiled. Let's give it a try. Dongbu Shuang was also filled with anticipation. He stretched out his hand and pulled out the stopper of the black gourd. Pa! The moment the stopper was pulled out, a terrifying wave of heat spread out, causing the desert in front of him to distort. Countless grains of sand melted into particles. Everything around the mouth of the gourd started to distort. The power it exuded was so great that even ordinary paragons with weaker life preservation abilities would be turned into ashes. Only peak paragons would be able to withstand it. I haven't even used it yet. Just pulling out the stopper already exudes such power? Dongbu Shuang sighed inwardly. He then started to execute the technique. His luminous sun force formed a white rune. Light circulated within the rune, and it rapidly turned into a golden rune. This golden rune directly entered the black gourd, and it started to activate the incomparably huge array within the black gourd. Dongbu Shuang was extremely familiar with this array. For the past 13,000 years, he had been pondering on how to refine the black gourd, and had studied this array countless times. Unfortunately, it was simply too vast and complicated. Even now, he had no idea how to do it. He could only use the most basic method to activate the array, and he started to activate the terrifying fireball's might. This caused an immense pressure on Dongbu Ying's soul. Go! He gritted his teeth. Suddenly, a blurry ripple surged out from the mouth of the gourd. This black ripple was somewhat similar to the sun ripple within the sun star. However, the sun ripple came from the depths of the sun star. Like the void black soil layer, only rulers could withstand the power of the sun star. Of course, Paragon Huiqing and Monarch Green, who specialized in the Tao of Fire, could also withstand it. However, the sun star's core, had an even more terrifying ripple. Even rulers could not withstand it. And now, the ripple that surged out from the mouth of the black gourd was precisely the ripple of the fireball. Although it was just an external ripple, it was bound together by the even more terrifying array within the black gourd, allowing it to surge out through the mouth of the gourd. One must know that a fully dispersed sun ripple was already that terrifying. Now, under the control of the array, the ripple that surged out through the mouth of the gourd was even more terrifying. Black ripples surged out from the mouth of the gourd, spreading out in a fan shape. The power was so great that it could cause even rulers' expressions to change. The terrifying might caused a huge tear to appear in this incomparably stable world. Retrieve. Dongbu Shuang endured the pain in his head. He no longer dared to forcefully endure it. He immediately stopped the array, and instantly, the black ripple that surged out from the mouth of the gourd disappeared. Dongbu Shuang plugged the stopper, and the huge tear in the world in front of him gradually closed up. Outside the tear, he could see countless streams of liquid flowing outside. Let's go! Grabbing the black gourd, Dongbu Shuang rushed into the tear in the world membrane. As the tear completely closed up, Dongbu Shuang disappeared from this world. Chapter 713. From a raging river in the void, a black-robed figure flew out. I'm out! Looking at the hundreds of billions of miles long void river in front of him, Dongbu Shuang sighed. No matter how hard he tried to use the mirage world to sense it, he was still unable to find that hidden world within the void river. Stop looking. You only had the chance to enter after obtaining the star map. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to find that world even if you searched for an entire epoch. The voice of the red undergarment child was transmitted into Dongbu Ying's mind. You better think of a way to refine the black gourd within 1,000,000 years. If you can't refine it, I can only leave. I understand. Dongbu Shuang frowned as he rubbed his head. Pain. Waves of pain could be felt as the black aura seeped into his true deity heart. His originally glass-like body was now filled with a faint black aura, causing him to feel pain at every moment. I can only slowly consume it. It would indeed take about 10,000 years for this black aura to diminish. Dongbu Shuang could feel the rate at which the black aura in his true deity heart was being consumed. Dongbu Shuang, this is just a small backlash. Before you fully recover, you must not use it a second time. If you do so, the backlash will be even more severe. Your soul might not be able to withstand it and collapse. The red undergarment child transmitted a message to remind him. You are also quite impressive. I have placed you in my Eden treasure, and you are still able to transmit a message to me easily. Dongbu Shuang replied with a smile. Although he was in constant pain, he had experienced the torture of the six ghosts' resentment when he was young. Thus, he was naturally able to speak in a jovial manner. Humph, it is just the Eden treasure. It can't restrict me at all. Even the famous Lake Heart Island and 6 paths Tianlun of your cosmos are things that I can enter and leave whenever I want. The red undergarment child was incomparably confident. As long as you are unable to refine me within 1,000,000 years, no matter where you hide me or who helps you, I will be able to leave easily. I believe you, I believe you. Dongbu Shuang smiled and said nothing more. What he trusted was not the spirit, but the Void Walker. The fact that the Void Walker was able to refine the solar star into a gourd and turn it into a protective treasure was enough to make Dongbu Shuang look up to him. After all, according to the legends, even the Lake Heart Island Master, the demon ancestor, who was the strongest in the many eras, could not do anything to the Sun Star and the Moon Star. Let's go. With a wave of his hand, Dongbu Shuang tore open a space-time tunnel and began his return journey. Swoosh. Black Mist Sea, the Emperor's residence. Dongbu Shuang appeared high up in the sky. Instinctively, his senses enveloped the entire mansion, and he found his wife, Ying. But at the same time, he also found an old friend. Persei? Dongbu Shuang was shocked. Back then, in the Xia people's world, the sorcerer god and the great demon god wanted to start a war in the dark to occupy the entire Xia people's world so that they could occupy the Eden treasure, Crimson Rock Mountain. At that time, they coveted the treasures and world deity ranked secret techniques left behind by the powerful existence, Sacred Master Crimson Dust. Several world deity ranked existences had sent their peak demigods to the Xia people's world. At that time, the lords of Ulan, Wu Ma Hai, Persei, Ken Wang, and the Maishan Master had all gone to Crimson Rock Mountain. Even the poisoned Dongbu Shuang had risked his life to enter Crimson Rock Mountain in search of a chance of survival. Within Crimson Rock Mountain, he and Persei had been in the same team, and they had experienced life and death together. Within the courtyard, there was tea on the table beside her, and the fragrance of the tea wafted through the air. Jing Qiu, dressed in light blue robes, was currently seated cross-legged on the grass. Her silky hair was draped over her shoulders, and a true god sword was placed on her knees. She was currently sensing the mysterious Tao within the sword. Who? Dongbu Shuang appeared by the side. Watching his wife cultivate, he could not help but reveal a smile. However, he soon felt his heart tighten. His wife was different from him. She was the eldest daughter of Monarch Mo Shui, and she had cultivated for a very long time in her previous life. Although her memories had awakened after her reincarnation, the collision of the memories of her 2 lives had allowed her to take a step forward and become a stage 4 world deity. Although she had improved after that, compared to Dongbu Shuang, Qiu Qi Bai, and the others, she was still much, much slower. Dongbu Shuang had already done his best to help her, but his wife's improvement was still very slow. Dongbu Shuang had always been very worried that his wife would not be able to transcend. Transcending was something that no one could help. Even a Void Walker with his strength could not help his good friend. At most, he would receive some external assistance. In the end, one still had to rely on themselves to comprehend the Tao and transcend. Jingqiu. Dongbu Shuang muttered. Some stage 4 world deities would choose to reincarnate when their true deity heart was about to collapse. After a successful reincarnation, they would have new memories of their lives, which would allow their mental state to become ethereal. But after fusing with the memories of their previous lives, they would only live for a slightly longer period of time. It could be as long as 3 to 5 billion years, or as short as 1 billion years. It was impossible for them to be like Dongbu Shuang, Chiu Chi-bai, and the others who had ample time to cultivate. No matter what, I will do my best. Dongbu Shuang temporarily tossed these thoughts to the back of his mind. He was still very open-minded. It was enough for him to cherish the time they had together. How could there be anything in this world that was perfect? And then? Jing Qiu opened her eyes and looked to her side. When she saw the most important man in her life, she could not help but smile. Snow Eagle, you're back. You said before that you were in closed-door cultivation, and that I wouldn't disturb you unless there's something important. How is it? Did you gain anything? Yes. Dongbu Shuang smiled and nodded. My gains are quite great. His gains this time were indeed great. It allowed him to gain enough power to fight against sovereigns. It was a pity that he had yet to refine it, and could only use it once every 10,000 years. Right, Jingqiu, I discovered that Brother Persei is also in the residence? Dongbu Shuang asked in surprise. He's only been here for half a year. Jingqiu kept her divine sword and stood up. He came to visit you. When he found out that you weren't around, he planned to leave. I know that you have a deep friendship with him, and that you've mentioned him many times, so I persuaded him to stay in the residence. And then, Dongbu Shuang nodded. You did the right thing. After he left the Xia people's world and entered the deity world, his rise was extremely fast. He became a disciple of the God Emperor, became a stage 4 world deity, and even opened up 2 daos. Now, he was one of the 3 ancestors. Dongbu Shuang had long since ordered people to investigate his good friends, especially Persei, Meishan Master, and Ken Wang. After all, the difference in strength between them was too great. Dongbu Shuang did not know what to say when they met. Just reminiscing about the past? That would only add to the awkwardness. Thus, he only ordered people to help Persei and the others in the dark, especially since the Meishan Master and the others were reincarnators of the temporal temple. Even if he were to help them in the dark, he had to be more cautious. Brother Persei has finally become a world deity. Dongbu Shuang also understood the reason why Persei did not come to meet him despite his fame. In the past, Persei was just one of the countless deities in the vast deity world. Thus, he had never come to meet him. But now, he had already broken through to become a world deity. World deities were still quite rare. In every starfield, the number of world deities could be counted with one's fingers. Their lifespan was also around 10 billion years. Persei's state of mind was different. Naturally, he could come to meet him calmly. Jingqiu, I'll go meet Brother Persei first. After that, I have some matters to discuss with you in detail, Dongbu Shuang said. Hurry up and go meet your good brother. We have plenty of time. Jingqiu smiled as she urged him. And then, Dongbu Shuang took a step and disappeared. He immediately went to meet Brother Persei, whom he had not met for 10 million years. Chapter 714. Monarch Residence. Within the cavern-dwelling courtyard where Qingzhou resided, Shuang brought out a flask of good wine along with 2 to 3 side dishes. Shuang and Qingzhou sat down and began eating. I never thought that monarch would be willing to sit with me and drink with me. Persei laughed. You still call me monarch? Dongbu Shuang frowned. Ha ha, Dongbu. Persei laughed. Back then, when we went to the Xia People's World's Crimson Rock Mountain, I was amazed that you were able to catch up to me, Ken Wang, Meishan Master and the Lords of Ulan in a mere 200 years of cultivation. With your strength, it would have been a waste if you had died in Crimson Rock Mountain. Your innate talent and comprehension are much higher than ours. Now, it seems that my foresight was indeed accurate. The moment you were cured of the hexing poison, with the guidance of the technique left behind by the powerful existence in Crimson Rock Mountain, you improved by leaps and bounds. You single-handedly reversed the war between the Xia people and entered the deity world, becoming a disciple of the God Emperor. In a short 10 million years, you far surpassed the ordinary powerful existences and became one of the 3 ancestors. Persei shook his head and sighed. If someone had told me that the hexing poison brat would become one of the 3 ancestors in the future, stronger than many powerful existences, I would have said that person's brain had gone haywire. Ha ha! Dongbua Shuang laughed as he listened. Time passed so quickly. The incident in the Xia people's world was still fresh in his mind. For the sake of the final battle against the great demon god and the sorcerer god, even his wife Jing Qiu had almost died. Fortunately, Chihua Laozu had helped. Even now, Dongbua Shuang was filled with gratitude towards Chihua Laozu. I returned to the deity world. Persei said. I heard about your matter. The gap between us grew larger and larger. At that time, I thought that if I could not become a world deity, I would never see you again. Why bother? Dongbua Shuang shook his head. Persei smiled. I know that you had a beloved wife when you were a transcendent. You loved her very much. If you are willing, I can ask a supreme being to help you revive her. Dongbua Shuang said. Persei was stunned. There was a hint of pain in the depths of his eyes. No need. Persei shook his head. No need? Dongbua Shuang was a little surprised. He had secretly ordered people to investigate and help Persei in secret. Therefore, he had a deep understanding of Persei. Persei could be said to be an infatuated person. After his wife died, he was even somewhat infatuated with her. It had been like this for many years. Persei smiled. I once tried to resurrect my wife at all costs, but I was too weak. How could I ask a powerful being to help me? Also, Dongbua, you were just a supervisor, so I didn't ask for your help. But, as the years passed, time was indeed very magical. Unknowingly, the long years caused me to change. I no longer feel sad. I can feel that she is by my side, living in the depths of my heart. She will be with me forever. Persei smiled. I am not in a hurry to resurrect her. Now that I have become a world deity, I will become a stage 2 or a stage 3 world deity in the future. In fact, I long to transcend and personally resurrect my wife. If I cannot do it and give up, I will ask Dongbua for your help. Persei said. Dongbua, if you are willing, I will be incomparably grateful. Dongbua Shuang nodded. He could feel it. Persei's character was slightly obsessed. But when it came to matters of the heart, he could only go along with the other party. Dongbua, do you know how Ken Wang and Meishan Master are doing? Persei asked. They are reincarnators of the temporal temple. What do you think they can do? Dongbua Shuang shook his head. My relationship with the temporal island is just so. If I were to help them, I might end up harming them instead. Within a vast starry sky. An incomparably huge array spanning a radius of 5 trillion kilometers was currently enveloping the entire starry sky. Countless runes were swimming within the starry sky. Furthermore, some of these runes were emitting a terrifying energy of fire, while others contained the icy cold energy of water. The energy of fire and water were swimming within the countless void runes, clashing against each other time after time. Hong. The terrifying energy of fire and water clashed against each other, producing a kind of void energy. This void energy seemed very weak, but it contained an extremely terrifying destructive power. Even rulers would not dare to use their bodies to resist it. The moment they came into contact with it, even rulers would be instantly annihilated. This was the Void Twin Extreme Array, which the Bloodshed God Emperor did not care about the price he had to pay after touching upon the threshold of a higher level. The arrogant Primal Master knew that the Bloodshed God Emperor had comprehended this technique, and understood that the Bloodshed God Emperor was very close to taking that crucial step. The void energy slowly spread outwards, affecting the vast starry sky that was enveloped by the array, causing the entire starry sky to shatter into pieces. At the core of this enormous array, the crimson-robed Bloodshed God Emperor was currently seated cross-legged at the center. He was controlling this frightening array. He was not worried about the enemies attacking him. With the power of the Void Twin Extreme Array, even if several rulers came, they would just be sending themselves to death. It's a pity that this Void Twin Extreme Array had a huge flaw. It moved very slowly. It was very easy for enemies to evade it. There was no helping it. After all, he had yet to take that final step. It was already very impressive for him to be able to set up this array with the help of external objects. Although I have to move the array every time I check a place, it's impossible for me to do so. Their lair will definitely not be able to hide from this kind of investigation. Bloodshed God Emperor's eyes were filled with coldness. A few tens of millions of years is sufficient for me to search through all 10 starfields. My cultivator cosmos will absolutely not allow existences from other cosmos to act so unbridled. Who? Suddenly, outside the vast array, a figure appeared. It was a bald, golden-robed, barefooted man. The aura he exuded made everything around him submit. Even the heavens and the earth had to submit. His pair of eyes were calm and vicissitudes of life. Bloodblade, who was inside the extreme void twin array, turned to look. He couldn't help but be surprised. Monarch Green? Master. The bald, golden-robed man smiled. What are you doing? Bloodblade found that his eldest disciple had completely changed. In the past, Monarch Green was still very reserved, and he naturally made others have the urge to submit to him. But the current Monarch Green had a kind of crushing aura that made everything submit. Even the heavens and the earth had to submit. In the past, Monarch Green often wore gray robes, and his hair was messy. Now, he was wearing an even more gorgeous golden robe, and he was bald. The most important thing was, Bloodblade could feel that the aura of his eldest disciple was completely different. It was more vast and distant. You've broken through? Bloodblade asked. Monarch Green nodded with a smile. I've coincidentally sent an avatar into another cosmos. The life forms in that cosmos are completely different from us, and I can't cultivate their cultivation techniques. But I've been investigating in the dark for many years, and I've finally made some progress, allowing me to break through to the ruler realm. Ha, good, very good. Bloodblade revealed a joyous look. Your teacher is currently executing the Extreme Void Twin Array to investigate the base of the Ancestor Mother religion. It is highly likely that the Ancestor Mother religion will retaliate in the end. You being able to become a ruler at this moment will increase the overall strength of our cultivator cosmos. Teacher, feel free to instruct me, Monarch Green said. Dongwu Shuang returned from that world. After returning to the Monarch residence, he told his wife Jingqiu about the 7 absolute arts he had obtained. Even though Jingqiu was startled, she still chose an absolute art. Absolute arts were useful in helping one transcend. After inspecting his children and disciples, he felt that they still had to temper themselves. Thus, he temporarily did not impart any absolute arts to them. What? Dongwu Shuang, who was currently discussing sword techniques with his wife, suddenly had a change in expression. He was startled. What's wrong? Jingqiu was slightly startled. I've just received the news, Dongwu Shuang said. My eldest disciple brother Monarch Green has become a ruler. Jingqiu was startled when she heard that. Even though Monarch Green could fight against rulers when he was a paragon, this crucial step was extremely difficult to break through. Even Peng Yi had to create a new cultivation technique before he became a ruler. And now Monarch Green had broken through? Peng Yi and Monarch Green, one in front and one behind, were fast. It seems that we have to go and congratulate him in a few days. Dongwu Shuang sighed with a smile. My eldest disciple brother has accumulated a deep foundation. It is natural for him to break through. We have to prepare a gift to congratulate him, Jingqiu added. After Peng Yi became a ruler, he had once preached about the Tao publicly. Dongwu Shuang and the others went to congratulate Peng Yi. Most powerful existences would be congratulated. As for a huge matter like becoming a ruler, it was naturally worth celebrating. Soon, Monarch Green began to send out invitations. All of the hegemons and major powers, regardless of whether they were from the God realm or the abyss, received an invitation. This caused Dongwu Shuang to click his tongue and sigh. My big senior brother is usually very simple and low-key. Why is he so ostentatious now? However, he still prepared a gift. He took his wife and children to congratulate them on the day of the banquet held by Qin Jun. Chapter 7:15. Dongbu Shuang and his wife and children flew out through the time-space tunnel. With a glance, they could see that towering void mountain range in the outside world. This enormous mountain range was constantly emitting light, illuminating millions and millions of kilometers. Dongbu Shuang saw this and felt the pressure brought by the mountain range. He could not help but think, this territory of eldest disciple brother has clearly changed its internal arrays. Its power is much greater than before, and it is only slightly weaker than the Bloodshed God Palace. Father, this is the Star Mountain. It is indeed extraordinary. It is much more domineering than our Black Fog Sea, Dongbu Yu and Dongbu Qingyao said as they watched. Places like the Bloodshed God Palace were open to the public. But under normal circumstances, outsiders would not dare to enter Monarch Green's territory without permission. Dongbo Qingyao and Dongbo Yu, the two siblings, had never been here before. Jingqiu chuckled by the side. When your father becomes a ruler, he will make our Black Fog Sea even better. Ha! Dongbu Shuang laughed. Let's go over first. Monarch Green had become a ruler. With his identity, he could not personally receive every guest. Even when Dongbu Shuang came, it was the two powerful existences under Monarch Green who took the initiative to receive him. Brother Dongbu. A familiar clear voice sounded. Dongbu Shuang turned over and saw a red-haired, red-browed, red-skinned muscular man walking over. Big brother Hu Cheng. Dongbu Shuang also walked over. Teacher. Dongbu Qingyao obediently shouted out. Ha! You brought your entire family over? Paragon Hu Cheng laughed. I really envy you for bringing your wife and children. I am all alone now. Teacher, don't you still have me, your disciple? Dongbu Qingyao asked. Paragon Hu Cheng could not help but laugh. Because he had a deep relationship with Dongbu Shuang, he pampered this female disciple a lot. He was not as strict as an ordinary teacher and disciple. Instead, he doted on her like a daughter. Qingyao, you follow me for a walk. Jingqiu immediately brought her children away. Dongbu Shuang and Paragon Hu Cheng walked together. Brother Dongbu, have you heard? Paragon Hu Cheng said. At the same time, he isolated the surrounding sounds. Paragon Green entered another cosmos and obtained a huge harvest there. Only then did he break through to become a ruler. I have not heard of it. Dongbu Shuang shook his head. You and him are senior and junior brothers, and you don't know? Paragon Hu Cheng was surprised. After all, I've only been cultivating for a short period of time. I don't have many good friends among the venerables. Although Monarch Green is my senior brother, I've only met him a few times, Shuang said. In terms of networking, he was still lacking compared to Paragon Hu Cheng, who had lived for a very long time. Furthermore, Paragon Hu Cheng's character was straightforward and warm, and he indeed had many good friends. Paragon Hu Cheng nodded his head and said, Even though entering another cosmos is a rare opportunity, there are quite a few of us cultivators who have had this experience. This did not include those that had not been made public. So this isn't much. But the strange thing is, your senior brother's temperament has changed a lot. His temperament has changed a lot? Dongbu Shuang was surprised. Paragon Hu Cheng said softly. It's not an ordinary size. You'll know when you see him. Temperament change? Dongbu Shuang was puzzled. Logically speaking, after cultivating for such a long period of time, it was rare for one's temperament to change too much. Such a huge change in personality, it's very likely related to the universe he went to. Paragon Hu Cheng shook his head. I wonder what he experienced in that cosmos, and what kind of cosmos it is. It actually caused such a huge change in him. Still, becoming a ruler is a good thing. Dongbu Shuang was curious as well. Gradually, guests arrived one after another. Paragons, powerful existences, and even rulers arrived. Empress Jianhe, a graceful and luxurious red-robed lady, stepped through the void. Finally, Monarch Green appeared and took the initiative to welcome her. Senior brother Monarch Green? Dongbu Shuang looked at Monarch Green in shock. In the past, Monarch Green had messy hair, gray robes and bare feet. His aura was also gentler. But the Qing Jun in front of him was bald, dressed in a gorgeous and dazzling golden robe, walking barefoot, and his whole body was clean, without a trace of dust. His mighty and boundless aura crushed everything, and his eyes looked even more vicissitudes of life, as if they contained endless mysteries. "How is it different, right?" Paragon Huiqing said. "He has indeed changed, and changed a lot." Dongbua Shuang nodded his head. This wasn't an ordinary banquet, but a huge matter like Monarch Green becoming a ruler. He had also sent out an invitation, so the rulers would definitely appear. No matter what, they had to send out an incarnation. "Empress Qianhe, you are the earliest." Monarch Green smiled. Empress Qianhe was inwardly shocked. Even though Monarch Green's eyes were calm, he gave her an invisible pressure that made her feel an intense threat. She immediately chuckled. "Pangyi has just become a ruler not long ago. Now that you have become one as well, it seems like my ranking on the Cosmos Deity Demon list will fall by one rank again. I have just broken through normally. Brother Pangyi has opened up a new cultivation technique. He is the more amazing one." Monarch Green smiled humbly. Suddenly, he looked into the distance. Empress Qianhe also looked over and said, "Your teacher is here." "Who?" The person who walked out from the void was a man dressed in crimson robes with a black bird on his shoulder. He was the strongest existence in this cultivator cosmos, Blood Blade. "Teacher." Monarch Green immediately welcomed him. "I thought that I, as your teacher, would be the first ruler to arrive at this banquet. Who would have thought that Empress Qianhe would be faster?" Bloodblade smiled at his disciple. "Cultivate well and quickly improve. Suppress Primordial and Abyss Primogenitor, those two old fellows. By then, the two of us will be in the top 2 of the Cosmos Deity Demon list. Bloodblade, including that talented young fellow Dongbua Shuang, the 3 of you should be in the top 3 of the Cosmos Deity Demon list." Empress Qianhe purposely said. "That's not impossible." Bloodblade's eyes brightened. "Your skin is really thick." Empress Qianhe shook her head. The rulers could know each other's location through karma. After Empress Qianhe and Bloodblade arrived, Primordial Master, Temporal Island Lord, Abyss Primogenitor, Purgatory Ruler, Pangyi and others arrived one after another. As the rulers arrived, the other paragons and powerful existences could only watch from afar. Dongbua Shuang was also watching from afar. Suddenly, "Dongbua Shuang, that ruler called Bloodblade should be your teacher, right?" A voice resounded in his mind. It was clear and crisp. It was the voice of the protective treasure Black Gourd. "Yes, he is my teacher," Dongbua Shuang replied. "He is very strong, truly very strong. He is clearly much stronger than the other rulers. He is indeed the #1 expert in your cultivator cosmos," the Black Gourd spirit said. "How do you know?" Dongbua Shuang was surprised and puzzled. He knew that the Black Gourd spirit had an extremely powerful scouting ability. But how could it determine one's strength? "I judge based on the aura of the soul," the Black Gourd spirit transmitted. "It's just checking the aura of a ruler's soul. To me, it is extremely easy. No matter how deep they hide, I can still detect them. Aura of the soul is a more common method of detecting one's strength. For example, those who comprehend laws and profound mysteries like you, the more profound your laws and profound mysteries are, the stronger your true deity heart will be." Chapter 716. Today was the second night. Dongbua Shuang agreed with this point. Because the true deity heart was formed by the fusion of the laws and profound mysteries and the soul. The stronger the laws and profound mysteries, the stronger the true deity heart. But how important was the soul? Everyone had to hide it deeply, and outsiders could not detect it. Even a little bit of aura could only be used to determine one's identity. Like the Bloodshed Tavern robe, one could easily disguise the strength of one's aura. Even for other cultivation systems, with the exception of a few, the stronger one is, the stronger the soul, the Black Gourd treasure spirit said. Dongbua Shuang pondered for a moment. Like the ancestor mother religion, the stronger the body, the stronger the soul. That time when he unleashed his illusory realm, Protector Huizhu, who had the strongest body, could easily resist against it. One could see how strong his soul was. Your teacher is very strong, but this senior disciple brother of yours, Monarch Green, is very powerful too. The black gourd treasure spirit continued. He is even stronger than that primal master and abyss primogenitor. Ah? Dongbua Shuang was startled. The black gourd treasure spirit continued. From their conversation, I can see that they respect primal master and abyss primogenitor. But their combat power should not be that strong. Are you saying that senior disciple brother Monarch Green is stronger than primal master and abyss primogenitor? Dongbua Shuang transmitted a question. If this news were to spread, it would be too shocking. Primal master and abyss primogenitor were rulers with deep accumulations. Even if Peng Yi created a new cultivation technique, his ranking on the Cosmos Deity Demon list would be lower than theirs. Monarch Green had just broken through, and had yet to create a new cultivation technique, yet he could suppress primal master and abyss primogenitor? His temperament has changed greatly. Unless he has been possessed? Dongbua Shuang muttered, that's not right. Senior disciple brother Monarch Green has a true body and avatar inside. It is extremely difficult for others to possess him. But it is ultimately a different cosmos. Perhaps there might be some unheard of cultivation technique. Because he has been possessed, his temperament has changed, and his combat power has increased by leaps and bounds. But if he has really been possessed, shouldn't he be more careful in concealing it? Dongbua Shuang thought. The judgment of the black gourd treasure spirit caused Dongbua Shuang to become vigilant. I'm talking about their souls, the black gourd's artifact spirit said confidently. I can easily detect their souls. In terms of soul strength, your master, Bloodblade, is indeed the strongest, and he has a clear advantage. What a freak! Out of all the hegemons I've seen since I was successfully refined, his soul is the strongest. Let me ask you, is Monarch Green stronger than Yuanchu Master and the others? Dongbua Shuang asked again. Yes. The black gourd's artifact spirit confirmed. You didn't see it, but your senior brother Monarch Green's soul is like an incomparably dazzling golden light. It's really overbearing and powerful. If he doesn't have a heaven-defying treasure, your senior brother Monarch Green's strength should be ranked third. Third? Dongbua Shuang was stunned. He was clearly stronger than the Primal Master and the Abyss Primogenitor, but he was only third? My Shizuan Bloodblade is first, Monarch Green is third, then who is second? Dongbua Shuang asked. The one called the second Purgatory Ruler. The black gourd's artifact spirit replied. Dongbua Shuang was a little confused. Purgatory Ruler? There were a total of 3 hegemons in the Dark Abyss. Purgatory Ruler was the one who kept a low profile, Blood Ruler was the one who was very flamboyant, and Abyss Primogenitor was the most famous and had the highest status. But according to the Black Gourd's method of judging strength, Bloodblade was first, Purgatory Ruler was second, and Monarch Green was third. Finally, with the arrival of Blood Ruler and Myriad God Palace Master, the 10 hegemons were all gathered. Immediately, under the guidance of the attendants, they took their seats. Monarch Dongbua, please. An attendant came to lead the way. Dongbua Shuang brought his wife and children over. The seats had already been arranged. Among them, the 10 highest seats were undoubtedly the 10 hegemons. One could see the 10 hegemons taking their seats. In front of the 10 hegemons, there were 30 over paragons. For instance, Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master, Dongbua Shuang, Monarch of Destruction, and the others were seated under Bloodblade. For instance, Paragon Huiqing was seated under Primal Master. Below them, there were a large number of powerful existences. Snow Eagle. Bloodblade looked at his disciple, feeling a little puzzled. He transmitted, I can feel that your soul is somewhat unstable. What's wrong? Are you injured? Dongbua Shuang was a little surprised that his Shizuan could sense his injuries. He immediately transmitted back. It's fine. It doesn't affect my strength. I should be able to fully recover in 10,000 years. Amen. If you can't resolve it, just let me know. Bloodblade nodded and didn't bother with him any further. It was normal for his disciple to experience some setbacks. It was only because he discovered that this involved his soul that he asked. Since his disciple could handle it, he naturally wouldn't act. Your senior apprentice brother has already broken through to become a ruler. You have to cultivate well. You are different from him. Whether he becomes a ruler or not doesn't affect him much. But if you can't, you won't be able to transcend. Bloodblade transmitted. I don't wish for the two of us to be separated forever in the future. Yes, this disciple will definitely do his best. Dongwu Shuang could sense his master's concern for him. He couldn't help but feel touched. After that, with a few words from Monarch Green, the banquet officially began. Snow Eagle. Jing Qiu, who was seated beside Dongwu Shuang, transmitted. Why aren't you chatting with the surrounding paragons? Why are you lowering your head and drinking? I'm thinking about something. Dongwu Shuang's mind was in a mess. He had just asked the Black Gourd's artifact spirit. Now that the Pantheon Palace Master and the Bloody Ruler are here, 10 rulers have gathered. You can use your own method to determine the strength of the 10 rulers. The Black Gourd's artifact spirit quickly came up with a ranking. This ranking was based on the most fundamental aspect of one's soul. First, Bloodblade. Second, Purgatory Ruler. Third, Monarch Green. Fourth, Primal Master. Fifth, Bloody Ruler. Sixth, Abyss Primogenitor. Seventh, Pantheon E. Eighth, Pantheon Palace Master. Ninth, Temporal Island Lord. 10th, Empress Qianhe. This ranking caused Dongwu Shuang to lose the mood to chat with the paragons next to him. His heart was in turmoil because this ranking did not match up with much of the information he knew. Didn't they say that the Bloody Ruler was very weak? Peng Yi was able to suppress him before he became a ruler? Even Monarch Green was able to fight him when he was a paragon. But he's actually stronger than the Abyss Primogenitor and Peng Yi who became a ruler? Dongwu Shuang shuddered. Even after Peng Yi became a ruler, his soul aura was not as strong as the Bloody Ruler. This was not normal. I heard that my master and the Bloody Ruler were schemed against during the fight for the treasure, and the Bloody Ruler was killed? Dongwu Shuang was even more confused. Firstly, the Bloody Ruler seemed to have hidden his strength too well. Secondly, the Purgatory Ruler and Monarch Green had hidden their strength too. The Purgatory Ruler's strength was actually on par with the Blood Blade. There are 3 rulers in the Abyss. I didn't expect the Abyss Primogenitor to be the weakest? Dongwu Shuang thought to himself. What's the secret behind this? He had hidden some of his strength, but he did not expect many of these rulers to do the same. Some of them even hid their strength very well. Like the Bloody Ruler, he did not even care about his reputation. He did not care about being considered the weakest ruler. Empress Qianhe's strength is very accurate. She is indeed the weakest. Dongwu Shuang thought to himself. That arrogant and sinister Temporal Island Lord is always stirring up trouble. I didn't expect him to only be the second weakest. In the drawing, Dongwu Shuang was already an adult while his brother Dongwu Qishu was still a teenager. Chapter 717. This ranking was based on the essence of the soul. This made Dongwu Shuang's heart waver. He lowered his head and drank, occasionally chatting with Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master and Monarch Destruction. The entire feast was bustling with excitement. Powerful existences were exchanging toasts and chatting merrily. Powerful existences from the deity world and abyss have all gathered here. It has been a long time since such a scene has appeared. That's right. If not for Ruler Monarch Green sending out invitations, many powerful existences would not have come. Powerful existences had weird tempers. For instance, those who lived in seclusion would not participate in any grand event. But for a ruler to personally send an invitation, they could not afford to lose face. Furthermore, there was a barrier between the Dark Abyss and the deity world. Few powerful existences from the Dark Abyss would attend the birth of a ruler in the deity world, and vice versa. But by sending out invitations, everyone could only attend. Thus, it became a rare grand event. More than 300 ordinary powerful existences were present. Some of them were old fellows who had lived in seclusion for a long time. Jing Qiu, Dongbui Yu, Dongbui Qin Yao, and other world deities were all excited. So many powerful existences? They had never heard of some powerful existences before. Such a grand scene is rare indeed. Not only are powerful existences gathered, there are even 10 rulers. With the birth of 10 rulers, this is a brand new stage for our cosmos epoch. And then there are 10 rulers now. Many cultivators who were participating in this feast felt their hearts surging. They felt that they would be lucky to see such a scene once in their lives. At the highest point, the 10 rulers were seated there, chatting and laughing. Naturally, the central character this time was ruler Monarch Green. Primal, Monarch Green has become a ruler. You have to think about how to rearrange your cosmos deity demon list. Abyss Primogenitor laughed. My head hurts. Primal Master held onto his wine cup, shaking his head helplessly. The previous time was when we were dealing with a base of the ancestor mother religion. Old Brother Pangyi had personally acted, allowing me to peek a little. Currently, Monarch Green has yet to act, so how would I know how strong he is? Either Monarch Green takes the initiative to display your techniques, or you have to wait for Monarch Green to act. Monarch Black, show me what you've got, Pantheon Palace Master said with a smile. Yes, let us see your current strength. Bloody Ruler Nile laughed. What are you looking at? Empress Qianhe laughed. Look again. Nile, you are still at the bottom. Bloody Ruler Nile immediately shouted. Empress Qianhe, you still dare to mock me? You are only 1 rank higher than me. 1 rank higher is still 1 rank higher. Empress Qianhe said proudly. Blood Dominator Nile curled his lips. Everyone is here now. Qing Jun, who was sitting in the middle, smiled and said, Then I won't dampen everyone's mood. I'll show you a thing or two. His voice was undisguised and spread throughout the banquet venue. For a moment, all the powerful existences, even the world deities who had the opportunity to attend the banquet, and even the attendants by the side, turned their heads to look. Dongbui Shuang turned around as well, and a look of shock appeared on his face. Take the initiative to reveal his strength? This senior brother of his was much more ostentatious than before. Immediately, the other sovereigns watched expectantly. Blood Blade even grinned as he watched. The many cultivators below also raised their heads to watch. Qing Jun simply stretched out his palm. His palm was sparkling like jade, and the lines on his fingers were like deep ravines. He clenched his fist and punched out towards the void in front of him. Hong! A huge golden fist appeared in the distant void. It was dazzling, and the power it emitted caused Dongbui Shui Ying's heart to twitch. This golden fist seemed to be the most dazzling existence in the world, even more dazzling than the distant sun star. Of course, this was just a misconception. After all, the sun star was too far away from here. However, the power of this fist was undeniably terrifying. The void suddenly collapsed and was destroyed. The golden fist's power did not leak out in the slightest. After completely collapsing the void, the golden fist disappeared without a trace. Such a terrifying power, and he was still able to control it without any leakage. There wasn't even a trace of aftershock? Dongbui Shuang was speechless as he watched. I've made a fool of myself. Qing Jun smiled. But the other sovereigns present understood how horrifying this fist was. It seems that I have to properly consider your ranking and Pangyi's to see who is higher. Primal Master had a bitter expression. Naturally, Monarch Green is higher, Pangyi gently said. Ruler Pangyi has created a new cultivation technique, and he has to open up every single step by himself. His improvement is naturally slower, but it is also more stable and formidable. Monarch Green said, I might still have an advantage after breaking through, but as time passes, Ruler Pangyi will definitely leave me far behind by relying on the cultivation technique he created. The sovereigns were discussing amongst themselves. And Bloody Ruler Nile was also flattering by the side. After all, He was the weakest on the surface, and had always been ranked at the bottom. Pang Yi and Monarch Green were not any weaker than him before becoming rulers. He was absolutely the weakest ruler. Some apex paragons like White Sovereign King and Water Devil King did not care about this ruler. Ruler Nile was flattering while contacting. Religious leader. In the cultivator cosmos, in the territory of the ancestor mother religion, within an ancient towering palace hall, a huge fanged hunk was seated cross-legged wearing a few pieces of rags. Most of his skin was exposed, and his greenish-brown skin was like a rock. His eyes were deep as if there was a vast galaxy within them. His ugly face had a comforting energy to it, making everything around him feel warm and cheerful. His gaze was currently looking afar, and an image appeared in midair in this palace hall. It was a huge void twin extreme array that was currently enveloping the starry sky. It was probing wantonly. Because the power of this array was too great, the ancestor mother religion could not see what was within the array. They could not even see the controller of this array, Blood Blade. Religious leader. A contact was transmitted over. Religious leader Nico. The huge fanged hunk chuckled in reply. Why are you contacting me after attending the banquet of that Monarch Green? Previously, Monarch Green displayed his strength slightly, and it is similar to what we expected. He should be slightly stronger than Pang Yi, and is comparable to Primal Master and Abyss Primogenitor. Ruler Nile transmitted. Furthermore, he has only broken through in one of the Daos, reaching the Eternal Realm. As time passes, he might break through in the other two Daos. By then, his strength will increase even further. It is indeed within our expectations. He has 3 Daos. Which one did he break through in? The huge fanged hunk asked. It's the Tao of Mountain. Ruler Nico transmitted. Its power is vast and grand. It is quite extraordinary. Ha ha ha, the Tao of Mountain? How can this cultivator cosmos compare with us in terms of strength? The huge fanged hunk laughed. I can suppress him in terms of strength. Ruler Nile transmitted. But he is formidable in survival and escaping. We can't underestimate him. The huge fanged hunk said. Even though he is troublesome, the war is approaching. We no longer have the time to let him grow stronger. Our greatest threat is still that Blood Blade. Ruler Nile turned silent for a moment before asking, Are we really going to start the war? Chapter 7:18. The eyes of the huge fanged hunk were filled with worry. It isn't us who wants to start a war. It's Blood Blade. It's the cultivator cosmos that wants to start a war. They are forcing us. Currently, Blood Blade is using a void array to search through every single area. That array is incredibly powerful, and if we allow it to continue, he will eventually discover where we are hiding. He will discover the cosmos passage that connects to our cosmos. This cosmos passage is our lifeline. We have to protect it at all costs. The moment we are discovered by them, we will be forced into a decisive battle. The huge fanged hunk said. Ruler Nile became silent. Yes. The Bloodshed God Emperor was investigating every single location. He would not miss a single spot, and they would eventually discover him. Ruler Nile transmitted. Now is not the time to start a war. We have yet to grasp much of the cultivation system of the cultivator cosmos, and our strength has not increased by much. Furthermore, we have not collected many precious materials, and not many religious leaders have emerged. By relying on those precious materials from the cultivator cosmos, we have already produced 3 new religious leaders. The huge fanged hunk frowned. We need to collect more precious materials, but Blood Blade and the others have always been vigilant. If we were to collect them too crazily, we will only be exposed. And then, Blood Blade has already begun collecting large amounts of materials in the dark. Many materials are hard to collect. Ruler Nile said. Blood Blade. The eyes of the huge fanged hunk were filled with killing intent. Being the strongest religious leader in the ancestor mother religion, he was extremely wary of that Blood Blade. And Igu, our hometown cosmos, has already entered the final stage of collapse. Our clansmen are struggling at death's door. We are even lacking in cultivation resources. There are clearly 9 protectors who have broken through in their realms, yet we do not have sufficient resources for them to become religious leaders. The huge Fang Hunk shook his head. We can still rely on this half-collapsed cosmos to survive. But the moment it completely collapses, all sentient beings will be exterminated. None of our ancestor mother religion has taken that step. Thus, we have to occupy the cultivator cosmos. Our clansmen will begin reproducing after entering, and the new generation will be the lifeforms of this cosmos. We will receive the protection of this cosmos, and we can enjoy the energy source of this cosmos to cultivate. As for us transcendents, we can also obtain the protection of this cosmos. The huge Fang Hunk said. The universe was very safe. Outside the universe was very terrifying. It was not suitable for survival, at least not with their strength. This is the only long-term stable cosmos passage, the huge Fang Hunk said. It is also the final chance of survival that Ancestor Mother has bestowed upon us. The reproduction of our clansmen and the cultivation of us transcendents require a new universe. We're already comprehending their cultivation system, allowing us to gradually improve our understanding of the laws of profound mysteries. We are also using their resources to give birth to more sect masters. As long as time passes, our strength will become stronger and stronger. But the blood blade won't allow it. The cultivators won't allow us to drag this out any longer. They're forcing us. We have no way out. We must occupy this cosmos and construct the Ancestor Mother altar, allowing the entire cosmos to change to a cultivation system suitable for us. The Fang Man's eyes were filled with cold, killing intent. We are indeed invaders, but our hometown is almost gone. In order to survive, we must seize their homeland. I understand. Bloody Ruler Nile transmitted. That time, even though I knew the possibility of dying was high, I still chose to give up everything to reincarnate. It was all for the sake of our race's inheritance. Religious leader Nico, you've sacrificed a lot for your race. The huge Fang Hunk answered. Currently, the void array of the Blood Blade is still being investigated. We don't have much time left. Originally, we decided to engage in the final battle to determine the victor. But since Monarch Green has become a ruler, there are no more heaven-defying existences in the cultivator cosmos. We can still change our plans. In a few days, the various religious leaders will discuss and make a decision. We'll inform you when the time comes. All right. Bloody Ruler Nile answered. At the peak of the Star Mountain, the 10 rulers of the cultivator cosmos and all the powerful existences were gathered. They were drinking and chatting happily. Their moods were excellent. Amongst the 10 rulers, Bloody Ruler Nile was drinking. He was smiling on the surface, though his heart was filled with complex emotions. He was originally a protector of the Ancestor Mother religion cosmos. After entering the cultivator cosmos, he and a group of people from the same race disregarded the danger of dying and reincarnating. They sealed their memories, leaving behind only a bit of spirituality. They reincarnated into the operating laws of this cosmos. Some of them died just like that without awakening their memories. Looking at the success rate of those stage 4 world deities reincarnating, one could see that many of them had died. And some had succeeded. They had awakened their memories. But after they reincarnated, they were lifeforms recognized by the operating laws of this cosmos. They had karma and cultivated normally. Ruler Now might have been a paragon previously, but he had become a ruler now. I wonder how many of my comrades are still alive. Nile thought. Some were still alive. If they did not contact the Ancestor Mother religion, they would not know. Because after reincarnating, they would be lifeforms from the cultivator cosmos. Even their soul aura would be different, and it was impossible to distinguish them. It was entirely possible for some of them to give up their responsibilities. I can cultivate normally now. Why should I risk my life for the Ancestor Mother religion? If I do not say, nobody will know of my identity. Awakening their memories and contacting the Ancestor Mother religion depended on their loyalty. Because they had relied on reincarnation to infiltrate this cosmos, if they did not say, nobody would know. Thus, nobody had revealed themselves. Actually, this was normal. Even though a large number of them had reincarnated in the past, those who succeeded were pitifully few. Furthermore, they were all cunning and would naturally not commit any foolish mistakes. As for those like Bamboo Saint, they were originally experts from the cultivator cosmos. For the sake of increasing their strength, they had chosen to rely on the ancestor mother religion. Bamboo Saint and the others did not even know what the ancestor mother religion was seeking. The feast was ongoing. Blood Blade and Primal Master were also transmitting a message to each other. The Void Twin Extreme Array is constantly probing the starry sky. The ancestor mother religion will definitely be forced out. Bloodshed God Emperor transmitted. There are only two outcomes. Either they fight with us head-on, or they fight with us. Either they fight with us, or they give up and leave our cosmos. What do you think the ancestor mother religion will choose? No matter what they choose, according to your plan, Bloodblade, we will exhaust them to death. Primal Master was confident that they had a huge advantage in their own cosmos. If their avatars died in battle, they could always produce more avatars. Bloodblade was very cautious. But they have an advantage too. They came to our cosmos in the dark and have long obtained our cultivation system. Furthermore, they have always been cultivating our cultivation system. If they succeed in cultivating two great systems, one with a terrifying body and the other with control over the laws and profound mysteries, they will pose a huge threat to us. Thus, we cannot waste time. I have thought of ways to create the Void Twin Extreme Array so that we can expel them as soon as possible. Amen. Primal Master nodded. He then chuckled. The good news is that Monarch Green has broken through before the war begins. We have another ruler. Right. Bloodblade looked at the distant Monarch Green. He was happy that his eldest disciple could become a ruler. After this feast, there will be a huge war not long later. Bloodblade looked below. Ordinary powerful existences and paragons do not have to participate in the war. It is pointless for them to do so. Ultimately, it will depend on the 10 of us. That's right. A huge war. It will be the most amazing war since the birth of this cosmos epic. If they obediently retreat and leave, that would be great. Primal Master chuckled. We cannot rely on luck. Bloodblade's eyes were deep and unfathomable. Teacher. Suddenly, a voice transmitted over. Bloodblade was startled. This voice belonged to his disciple, Dongbush Shuang. Snow Eagle, what's the matter? Bloodblade asked. This disciple has an important matter to report. Dongbush Shuang transmitted. Chapter 719. Bloodblade looked at his disciple, Dongbush Shuang, with some surprise. Even if he had something important to report, he could have waited until the banquet was over. What was so urgent? Why did it have to be in the middle of the banquet? However, this disciple of his usually knew his limits. Bloodblade immediately transmitted. What is it? Revered Master, the surrounding sovereigns wouldn't be eavesdropping on us, would they? Dongbush Shuang transmitted again. Although he was very cautious, he knew too little about sovereigns. What he wanted to say was very important and could not be exposed. Eavesdropping? Bloodblade instantly became serious. His body emitted a formless ripple that enveloped Dongbush Shuang. It's fine now. No one will be able to eavesdrop on us. Snow Eagle, why are you being so careful? This disciple had a fortuitous encounter. I can detect the strength of a cultivator's soul. Dongbush Shuang transmitted. You can detect the strength of a cultivator's soul? Bloodblade was shocked. His horizons were much broader than Dongbush Shuang's, and he knew much more. He knew that the strength of a cultivator's soul could completely reflect the level of a cultivator's strength. What level of strength can you detect? Bloodblade continued to ask. The 10 sovereigns have gathered for this banquet. Out of curiosity, I secretly investigated all 10 of them, including Revered Master. Please forgive me, Revered Master. Dongbush Shuang transmitted. You investigated all 10 of us? Bloodblade's heart stirred. He hurriedly asked. How was it? What did you find? The results shocked this disciple. I didn't dare to believe it. Naturally, revered master is ranked first, but second is the purgatory ruler. The third was senior brother green monarch, and the fourth was the primal master. However, the fifth disciple did not expect it to be the bloody dominator. The sixth is the abyss primogenitor. The three sovereigns of the dark abyss, purgatory ruler and bloody ruler, are all above the abyss primogenitor. After them are Pang Yi, myriad god palace head, temporal island lord, and Empress Qian He. Dongwu Shuang transmitted. Oh? Bloodblade was silent. The information that his disciple had told him had indeed triggered the Bloodblade. Although he had noticed it secretly, it was not as clear as the ranking that Dongwu Shuang had determined based on the essence of the soul. This ranking, combined with the secrets Bloodblade already knew, allowed him to deduce many things. He really hit it well. Bloodblade narrowed his eyes, many thoughts running through his mind. And below. After Dongwu Shuang relayed this important information, he turned to look at his master. His master was silent, and there seemed to be a slight change in his expression. I've done everything I can. Even if the sky collapses, there will be a tall man to carry it. Master is a tall man. Everything depends on Master. Dongwu Shuang thought. The Black Gourd's weapon spirit mentioned that Bloodblade was the most terrifying ruler he had ever seen. Over the years, his master was unquestionably ranked first on the Cosmos deity demon list. No one could shake his position. If there was anyone who could oversee the entire cultivator cosmos, it would undoubtedly be his master. Snow Eagle, what else do you know about the rulers? Bloodblade asked. I don't know anything else. Dongwu Shuang replied. If not for the Black Gourd's weapon spirit, he wouldn't even be able to detect the strength of a ruler's soul. After all, a ruler wasn't someone he could easily detect. You've done well. Remember, you can tell this information to Primal Master and Abyss Primogenitor. As for the other rulers, you have to keep it a secret. As for the other cultivators, you have to keep it even more secret. Bloodblade reminded. This disciple understands. Dongwu Shuang answered obediently. The reason why he informed his master during the banquet was because Dongwu Shuang felt that his senior brother Monarch Green's temperament had changed greatly. Furthermore, he was so powerful that he even gathered all the powerful existences. He was worried that something might happen. Naturally, he had to inform his master immediately. But reality told him that he was thinking too much. This time, the banquet proceeded smoothly. The banquet lasted for 3 days. The rulers gave their lectures on the Tao, causing the cultivators present to listen seriously. When the banquet ended, the rulers left one after another. Dongwu Shuang bade farewell to some of his good friends before bringing his wife and children back home. And Bloodshed God Emperor had stealthily transmitted a message to Primal Master and Abyss Primogenitor. The entire cosmos was filled with turbulent undercurrents. Bloodblade was controlling that terrifying void twin extreme array to sweep across the cosmos. The ancestor mother religion was also getting restless in the dark. But these were only known by the rulers. Dongwu Shuang and the others were not too clear. He did not even know that his teacher was controlling the void twin extreme array. After all, it was hard for paragons to interfere in a real battle. It was mainly the rulers who were fighting. The gap between paragons and rulers was too huge. Bloodblade just needed to send an avatar to suppress all paragons. Thus, it was meaningless for paragons to participate in the battle. Like Monarch Hex Cricket and Water Devil King, they could only survive in front of rulers. They were not qualified to retaliate. Pang Yi and Monarch Green, who could retaliate in the past, were now rulers. Who? A stream of light arced through the sky. It was none other than the lone Dongwu Shuang. He was currently traveling across the deity world and abyss. He was exploring some ancient historical remains while doing his best to refine the Black Gourd. The Black Gourd is a protective treasure. It contains a fireball comparable to the Sun Star, and it is incredibly powerful. Refining the Black Gourd is also the final trial left behind by the Voidwalker. As long as I succeed, I will have an ultimate killing move. Dongbu Shuang might not understand much, but he could faintly feel that the entire cosmos was becoming more and more tense. At this moment, the stronger he was, the better. But how should I refine it? Using the words of the Void Walker, even rulers could not control the black gourd. Dongbu Shuang flew through the starry sky with a frown. Such a protective treasure is for a paragon like me to refine? Of course, since the Void Walker set this trial, it means that I can succeed. Compared to rulers, what advantage do I have? Why should I be able to refine it? Firstly, I have the technique to control it. With this technique, I can clearly sense the illusory array within the black gourd. Dongbu Shuang thought. Secondly, I'm one of the people who tested the Void Walker. He should have left me a path of hope. There are only two methods to refine treasures. Firstly, use strength to break through and refine it forcefully. Using strength to forcefully refine it. Dongbu Shuang shook his head. He had refined some world deity weapons and other treasures. Even if they had an owner, he would still be able to refine them forcefully. Clearly, only those with absolute strength can do so. Me trying to refine the black gourd by force? Definitely not. Secondly, comprehend the profound mysteries of the array within the black gourd and gradually refine it. Dongbu Shuang felt a headache coming on. The illusory array within the black gourd was capable of suppressing the sun star. How profound was it? Was it something that he could refine? But since the Void Walkers used it to test those who came after, they should have set up a threshold. Most likely, once I reach a certain realm in my comprehension of the black gourd array, I should be able to reach the threshold and refine it. Shuang thought. The creator of a treasure would definitely leave behind some backup plans. It could be set up so that only a certain person could refine it. It could also be set up so that only a certain level in controlling the array could refine it. Everything was set up by the creator. If the creator was willing, he could even make those treasures with spirituality listen to the orders of a certain weakling. That should be the case. This is the only possibility. It's impossible for me to truly comprehend the array to such a high level. Not to mention me, even rulers wouldn't be able to do it. Dongbu Shuang was very sure that if the requirements were really that high, he could only accept his failure. I reckon that there should be a threshold. As long as I can control the array to a certain level, it would be sufficient. The array within the black gourd was too difficult. If he were to enter closed-door cultivation for a long period of time, he might not be able to succeed. Hence, his main body in the Crimson Rock Mountain would enter closed-door cultivation for a long period of time. As for this avatar, he would head to the various ancient ruins, hoping to gain some insights from them. After all, those who could leave behind ancient ruins were all extraordinary characters from the previous epochs. Chapter 720. Time flowed, and in the blink of an eye, more than 600,000 years had passed. But to Dongbu Shuang, who had cultivated for millions of years, this was not a long time. Still, he could feel the pressure, because the deadline for the third trial of refining the black gourd in 1,000,000 years had already passed. Black Fog Sea, Dongbu Monarch Residence. Very good. Dongbu Shuang stood there smiling happily. He looked at his son, Dongbu Yu. You four, I have always been thinking who would be the first to step into stage 3. You are the first. Not bad. 4 people stood obediently in front of him. They were Dongbu Yu, Dongbu Qin Yao, and his 2 disciples, Mo Chong Yun and Jia Yun. Dongbu Shui Ying's children had long since become stage 2 world deities. His daughter was the disciple of Paragon Hu Qing. As for his son Dongbu Yu, he would often cultivate by Dongbu Shui Ying's side. After all, Dongbu Shuang was a paragon. Unless a ruler accepted him as a disciple, it was enough for him to teach him. His disciples, Mo Chong Yun and Jia Yun, were even more talented. But they had only cultivated for a short period of time, and were probably close to reaching stage 3. Who would have thought that among the 4, Dongbu Yu would be the first to reach stage 3? You brat, you became a world deity later than me. Later on, you became a stage 2 world deity, and now, you became a stage 3 faster than me. Dongbui Qingyao rubbed his brother's head. Dongbui smiled. They had all cultivated for millions of years, and even their parents would not rub his head. Only his sister, Dongbui Qingyao, rubbed his head. Dongbui, you felt that it was very natural. Sis, it's not that I'm fast, it's that you're slow. Dongbui, you chuckled. Humph, just a few compliments, and you're so happy. Let's see who becomes a stage 4 world deity first. Dongbui Qingyao pouted. Their comprehension abilities were not bad, and they had excellent conditions. Becoming a stage 4 world deity was indeed not a difficult matter. But transcendence was the true difficulty. Their mother, Jingqiu, had always been stuck at the same level, while their father, Dongbui Shuang, was a heaven-defying freak. However, he was simply too heaven-defying, and had actually established his own Tao, which meant that he had to become a sovereign before he could transcend. Congratulations, senior brother Yu. The childlike Mo Chongyun bowed respectfully. Congratulations, senior brother Yu, said Jia Yun. At the same time, Dongbui Shuang was thinking about the formation inside the Black Gourd. He had to admit that he had given it his all. He had even traveled to various places in the divine world in the abyss, whether it was the ruins, the mortal world, or the chaotic world in the abyss. He hoped that different environments would give him different inspirations. Clearly, he had used all kinds of methods in order to refine the Black Gourd. If it were not for the fact that the Void Walkers forbade others from helping him, he would have begged his master to teach him a thing or two. However, he did not dare to do so, so he had to think of a way himself. Even so, he had only comprehended the tip of the iceberg of the Black Gourd formation. He was still unable to refine it. However, this was just the tip of the iceberg, but Dongbui Shui Ying's strength had increased significantly. Cultivator Cosmos, territory of the ancestor mother religion. Within a vast palace hall, many figures were seated cross-legged on the ground. These figures were densely spread out, forming a circle. All of them were emitting a terrifying and vast aura. These figures were mainly divided into 3 categories. One of them was the huge Fang Hunk, bloody ruler Nile, and the others. Their bodies were towering and majestic. There was also a group of women. Their silhouettes were normal. The final category was the thin and weak ones. They even looked sickly and weak. Some had even wrapped themselves in their robes. Their bodies were shrouded in fog, preventing others from seeing them. The 18 religious leaders have gathered here. The huge Fang Hunk's voice was grand. It reverberated within the palace hall. Our hometown is currently collapsing. Our 3 newly born religious leaders are temporarily unable to come over. Their thoughts will be conveyed by me. This time, religious leader Nico will also be participating in this gathering. The huge Fang Hunk turned to Bloody Ruler Nile by the side. Bloody Ruler Nile was merely an incarnation that descended. Furthermore, his incarnation had concealed its aura and changed its appearance. It was impossible to tell that he was Bloody Ruler. Everyone should know that religious leader Nico did not hesitate to reincarnate when he was still a protector. Not only did he succeed, he even followed their cultivation system and became a ruler, the huge Fang Hunk said. Naturally, only I know which of the 10 rulers he is. I believe fellow religious leaders can understand. Amen. The other religious leaders looked at Bloody Ruler Nile. Their eyes were filled with admiration and passion. A ruler hidden within the enemy was much more useful than an ordinary ruler. Bloody Ruler had helped them in the dark, allowing them to obtain cultivation techniques more easily. If not for Bloody Ruler, the ancestor mother religion would not have had such a huge harvest in the cultivator cosmos. After all, there were many secrets that ordinary paragons did not know. Only the rulers knew more. Relying on Bloody Ruler, the ancestor mother religion had a deep understanding of the cultivator cosmos. This time, I believe everyone knows that the cultivator cosmos Bloodshed God Emperor is controlling that powerful array to sweep through the entire region. According to the speed and direction of his scouting, he'll reach our location within a few 100,000 years, the huge Fang Hunk said. Thus, we can't delay any longer. Amen. It's a pity. If we were given more time, our comprehension of the laws and profound mysteries would be deeper. We can also gather more resources to give birth to more religious leaders in our hometown. Currently, there are quite a few protectors in our hometown who have reached this realm, yet they do not have the resources to break through. The cosmos is collapsing, and we can't gather resources at all. These religious leaders were sighing. The collapse of their cosmos would be the final one. It was not a cycle of epochs. Yes. The huge fanged hunk nodded. But we don't have time. Everyone has to admit that the rulers of the cultivator cosmos are generally stronger than our religious leaders. They control the laws and profound mysteries, making their battles more unpredictable. We are comparatively more stupid, the huge fanged hunk said. Naturally, their cosmos is still young, and there are few historical remains. There are few treasures left behind from the previous epochs. Our cosmos is much older, and has already collapsed. There are many more treasures left behind. Yes. By relying on these treasures, we can definitely obtain victory. We will definitely succeed in establishing the Ancestor Mother altar. Even if they could refine new avatars, we can still rely on karma to find them and kill them one by one. They are too young, and have too few treasures. These religious leaders were filled with killing intent. They had no path of retreat. Be it for their race or for themselves, they had to occupy this cosmos. They even had to establish the Ancestor Mother altar, transforming the entire cosmos into a cultivation system suitable for them. Even though they were currently cultivating the laws and profound mysteries, their cultivation system was still their specialty. Furthermore, the cultivation system did not have a high requirement for the cosmos, and they could still cultivate it. Previously, Pangi became a ruler in their cultivator cosmos, and later on, Monarch Green became a ruler. This is a good thing for us. The huge fanged hunk chuckled. I believe that everyone has discovered the most precious treasure in this cosmos. Yes. The most precious treasure. They actually do not recognize it. It's no wonder. After all, this is only the 8th cosmos epoch. They are still too young. The eyes of these religious leaders brightened. Primal Chaos flying ship, the huge fanged hunk softly said. A legendary Primal Chaos flying ship. The cultivator cosmos actually ranked it as the 3rd of the 5 great historical remains. What a joke. This is much more precious than our Lake Heart Island historical remains and the 6th heavenly wheel. We have only seen records of it in the sacred scripture. Who would have thought that we would see a true Primal Chaos flying ship in this cosmos? The 5 great historical remains of the cultivator cosmos. First, the Lake Heart Island historical remains. Second, the 6th heavenly wheel. Third, the Arcadia flying ship. Fourth, the Moon Palace. Fifth, a thatched hall. As long as we can obtain the Primal Chaos flying ship, with how mystical it is, we will have one half of this war. The huge fanged hunk chuckled. Chapter 721. This Primal Chaos flying ship is restricted by an invisible law. Even those with the strength of a ruler or a sect master would be completely rejected and unable to enter. The huge fanged hunk shook his head. Unfortunately, there aren't many records in the canon. There are only some simple information about the Primal Chaos flying ship. However, with this simple information and the fact that this ship hasn't been controlled by anyone for many epochs, it should be an ownerless object. We definitely have hope of seizing it. Previously, the cultivator cosmos had Pang Yi and Monarch Green. Although our cosmos also has extremely powerful protectors, compared to Pang Yi and Monarch Green, we have to admit that there is still some disparity. Their control over the profound mysteries of the laws is profound and unfathomable. During a battle, a portion of their strength can be split into 10 portions. Moreover, many of their moves are strange and unpredictable. With them around, it's impossible for our protectors to win. But now, both of them have become sovereigns. The cultivator cosmos no longer has any powerful paragons. The strongest one is called Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction. Ha ha ha, although he is not bad, any one of our 3 holy protectors is enough to stop him. The huge fanged hunk laughed. That's right. Be it in terms of numbers or strength, our protectors can suppress them in all aspects. We have 9 protectors who have already reached the sect master level. It's just that I don't have enough resources to break through. These sect masters were filled with confidence. In terms of quantity, they had the advantage among the sect masters, dominators, but without the help of treasures, they didn't have the confidence to fight head-on. Because even if the rulers of the cultivator cosmos died in battle, they could quickly refine another avatar in a short period of time. In addition, the rulers were extremely proficient in utilizing the laws and profound mysteries. All of them were incomparably crafty. For example, the Temporal Island Lord, who was weaker in direct combat, was famous for his elusiveness. In terms of controlling spacetime, he was the strongest in both universes. The other rulers had their own ruler realm Das, and their overall combat standard was stronger than the religious leaders from the ancestor mother religion. They could only rely on their numbers and treasures to fight. They had always felt that it was still too early to start the war. If they could nurture more sect masters and cultivate the laws of profound mysteries to an extremely high level, their combat power would naturally increase greatly. But there was no way around it. Bloodblade had activated the Extreme Void Twin Array, not giving them any time to react. However, they were very confident in the Protector, Venerable, level. This was because 9 of them had reached the sect master level but hadn't been able to break through. Of course, the increase in their realms was more in the spiritual aspect, and it didn't help much in terms of strength. If it was in Dongbu Shui Ying's universe, once one's realm broke through, it would be a breakthrough in the Tao, and one's strength would undergo a qualitative transformation. But the ancestor mother religion was different. They had to rely on resources to improve their realm under the guidance of ancestor mother. Thus, the ancestor mother altar was a must. Without the ancestor mother altar, they could not increase their strength. However, the strength of the 9 protectors had improved slightly in the end, and there were even 3 among them who had blazed a new path and had improved greatly in strength, so they were respectfully addressed as holy protectors. The primordial cave's flying ship is an item recorded in the Holy Bible. It is extremely powerful. As long as they could control it, they would have won half the battle. Even if we are defeated, we can use the Chaos Flying Ship to leave this universe and survive, the huge Fang Hunk said. Therefore, we have to seize the Chaos Flying Ship at all costs. Monarch Green has become a ruler, and they do not have any powerful paragons. This is an opportunity given to us by Ancestor Mother. The eyes of the huge Fang Hunk were filled with desire and expectation. We have to fight with all our strength. We have to do it at all costs. Seize the primordial Chaos Flying Ship, occupy this cosmos, and construct the Ancestor Mother altar. This will be our cosmos. Within this vast palace hall, there were 18 figures seated cross-legged. All of them were filled with determination. Because they could not afford to lose. If they lost, their hometown cosmos would be collapsing, and they could not leave the cosmos to survive. Without the protection of the primordial Chaos Flying Ship, they would all be exterminated. Black Fog Sea, Dongbo Monarch Residence. Snowflakes fluttered, covering the entire residence with a thick layer of snow. Dongbu Shuang was currently brewing wine by himself. Other than the fruit wine that was being brewed on the table, there was also a big black gourd placed there. Dongbu Shuang would occasionally bring the big black gourd into his robes and caress it. He seemed to be in a daze, but in reality, he was using his cultivation technique to sense the terrifying void array within. The void array was grand like the galaxy in the sky, and Dongbu Shuang was like a mortal looking up at it. The difference in realms was too great. Dongbu Shuang was either focusing on comprehending a single point of this void array, or treating it as a whole to comprehend it. He had gained some benefits over the past 600,000 years. It was just that he was still far from refining the black gourd. Snow Eagle! A voice suddenly resounded by his ear. It was filled with a strand of anxiety. Hurry up and come to the Arcadia Flying Ship! Teacher? Dongbu Shuang was slightly startled. His teacher, Bloodblade, had always been calm and unperturbed. Why did he lose his composure this time? Hurry up and come! Bloodblade did not explain the reason. He simply ordered, "Yes." Dombush Shuang did not care about anything else. He immediately grabbed the black gourd on the table and flew out of the monarch residence. Before he left, he even sent a voice transmission. "Jingqiu, I have something important to do. I have to leave now." Jingqiu teleported to the snowy ground where the wine was being boiled. She looked at the wine flask that was still steaming. She raised her head and watched as Dombush Shuang entered a spatial passage in the sky. She could not help but look forward to it. She knew that there was a huge gap between her and Dombush Ying's strength. All she could do was silently support him from behind. "Who?" Dombush Ying used all his strength to rush forward. His mirage world extended outwards, tearing open a spatial passage in the mirage world. This allowed him to fly at an extremely fast speed. In just half a cup of tea's time, Hua! Eastern Europe's snow eagle flew out of the spatial passage. He saw a flying ship floating in the starry sky outside. The flying ship was roughly 500 kilometers long. It did not seem big in the starry sky. However, the reason why it was named Arcadia Flying Ship was because it did not look big on the surface. In reality, there was a huge grotto heaven within it. The interior was simply a grotto heaven world. "Teacher." Dombush Shuang swiftly discovered Bloodblade. He also saw the black-robed, black-haired Temporal Island Lord and the other rulers. The 10 rulers were actually gathered here. Other than the 10 rulers, there were over 10 paragons who had rushed over. There were already more than 10 paragons here, like Water Devil King, Paragon Huiqing, and the others. "I've always suspected that this Arcadia flying ship is extraordinary. It doesn't seem to be something from our cosmos," Bloodblade said. "What's strange is that even rulers can't enter it. Just based on the many mystical aspects we discovered, we've ranked it 3rd among the 5 great historical remains. I've always felt that it might be more formidable than what we expected. That's why I've been constructing arrays around it. Who would have thought that the ancestor mother religion would actually send out a huge army this time?" A group of religious leaders charged over, and my arrays were easily torn apart by them. They even sent a large group of protectors into this Arcadia flying ship. So many religious leaders are moving together. Furthermore, so many protectors have entered. They must know something. They even know how to control this Arcadia flying ship. Bloodblade frowned. He was slightly worried. Chapter 722. The green-robed old man, Yuanchu Master, nodded and said, "Back when I was still a venerable, I've entered the Arcadia flying ship and witnessed all kinds of extraordinary things inside. Some of them are even more incredible than the 6 paths Tianluan and the Lake Heart Island. Back then, I believed that the strength of the refiner of this grotto heaven flying ship was above the owner of Lake Heart Island and the demon ancestor. My guess is that it's something from another universe." "Yes." The black-robed, black-haired Temporal Island Lord nodded. "It's a pity. Although it is extraordinary, it is hard for us to obtain any benefits from it." The 5 great relics. Ranked 3rd, the Arcadia flying ship was the stingiest. It was very difficult to gain anything from it. And places like the Lake Heart Island ruins, the 6 paths Tianluan, and the Moon Palace were all treasures, ultimate arts, guidance, training, and so on. They were all intentionally left behind by the predecessors of the previous epochs for the juniors. Even if one cottage was special, it still left behind an inheritance. Only the Arcadia flying ship remained. From the various traces, such as the traces of refinement and spirit designs, it could be seen that it was of the highest level. But he didn't gain anything from it. First, we gained very little. 2. Not even hegemons can enter. The abyssal primogenitor shook his head as well. It's already extraordinary enough to be ranked 3rd. The indifferent Pantheon Palace Master said, "We didn't find anything because we didn't discover its true secret. This time, the ancestor mother religion has sent a large number of protectors in. They should know the secret of this Arcadia flying ship." Bloodblade nodded. "Be it us, or the seniors from the previous epochs, we all guessed that the Arcadia flying ship came from another universe. Now that the ancestor mother religion knows of its secret, the Arcadia flying ship should be quite famous. Now that I have displayed the Void Twin Extreme Array, the ancestor mother religion should be anxious. That is why they sent a large group of protectors to kill their way in. But this Arcadia flying ship is suppressed by invisible laws. Even sovereigns can't enter. Bloody Sovereign Nile said anxiously. We have no choice but to send the venerables in, said Bloodblade. We can only watch. It's up to the venerable ones. The Primal Master, the Abyss Primogenitor, the Purgatory Ruler, and Empress Qianhe were all at their wits' end. The venerables quickly gathered. One by one, the paragons looked at their surroundings in astonishment. They saw that the 10 sovereigns were gathered here, and a large number of paragons were rushing over. What's going on? The ruler is here, and the paragons are rushing over. What's going on? Everyone was a little dazed. Dongbu Shuang, Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master, and Overlord of Destruction were naturally gathered together. Dongbu, do you know what happened? The Monarch of Destruction asked. The Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master looked over. I don't know. Dongbu Shuang shook his head in confusion. At the same time, he noticed that the supremacies around him were confused. I've asked a few of my old friends, but none of them knew. Right now, Bloodblade is discussing matters with the other sovereigns, so it's not convenient for me to ask him, the Overlord of Destruction said. He could tell that this was a huge matter. At this moment, he naturally could not act like a master. After all, his disciple Bloodblade was the true leader of the Cultivator universe. Let's wait. The Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master was very calm. Since he summoned us, he will tell us soon. Yes. Dongbu Shuang nodded as he waited by the side. He saw his good brother Paragon Huiqing in the distance. He also saw White Sovereign King, Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction, Monarch Hex Cricket, and even Ripple Lady Planet Master who specialized in refining treasures. Regardless, all the paragons were gathered here. Even those who had just broken through were summoned. Amen? Dongbu Shuang also noticed Leaf Saint in the distance. He had some enmity with Leaf Saint. Finally, all the paragons from the deity world and abyss had arrived. The 10 rulers also stopped chatting. Bloodblade swept his gaze across all the paragons before saying in a clear voice, I believe most of you know that other than our cultivator cosmos, there are other cosmoses. All the paragons present were silent. They were listening attentively. Occasionally, our cosmos will discover traces of experts from other cosmoses. But these aren't anything to worry about. Currently, there is a superpower called the Ancestor Mother Religion. They have sent a large batch of rulers into our cosmos. Bloodblade said. What? A large batch of rulers? Many paragons were startled. There might be a war between the Ancestor Mother Religion and us. According to our original plan, the 10 of us rulers are sufficient for the war. Your participation in the war won't be of much help to the overall situation. Instead, it will bind our hands and feet, Bloodblade said. The paragons present did not refute him. After all, they were clear of the gap between them and the rulers. But now, a group of rulers from the Ancestor Mother Religion has broken through my arrays. They are also escorting a large group of paragons into the Arcadia flying ship, Bloodblade said. They might know the secret of the Arcadia flying ship. He continued explaining. At the same time, Bloodblade was also transmitting the intelligence regarding the Ancestor Mother Religion and the Arcadia flying ship to all the paragons. Even though people like Dongbu Shuang already knew many secrets, some paragons knew very little. You should understand the threat of the Ancestor Mother Religion since I've given you the intelligence. Originally, there was no need for you to participate in this war. But now, it's different. Leave the final war to us. And the war within the Arcadia flying ship will be left to all of you paragons. Bloodblade said with a clear voice. We do not know the secret of the Arcadia flying ship. Thus, there is only one thing we can do, kill them all. Kill all their protectors, and their plan will fail. The final war belongs to us rulers. and we will have to rely on you all to enter the Arcadia flying ship. Even if you all die in battle, you can immediately refine avatars and enter again. Bloodblade's eyes were filled with killing intent. No matter what, we must exhaust them to death. The entire place was silent. The paragons standing in the void were all filled with fighting intent. This was a war between two cosmoses. Originally, they did not need to participate in this war. But now, they could do their part. 36 paragons. Bloodblade looked at them. We rulers do not know what secret the Arcadia flying ship is hiding, but we can confirm that the Arcadia flying ship is much more terrifying than the Lake Heart Island historical remain and the Sixth Heavenly Wheel. If you all were to lose, it might lead to the final defeat. We will win, and all these outsiders will be killed. In the distance, there was a muscular male with 2 black horns. His purple eyes were filled with thunder. He was the strongest of the 36 paragons, Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction. Right, we will wipe them out. This is a war between us paragons. We will definitely win. All the paragons were filled with fighting intent. And Bloodblade, Primal Master, Temporal Island Lord, and the other rulers were filled with anticipation as they watched. These were all paragons from their cultivator cosmos. Let's go. Bloodblade said. Go. Let's go. Kill all the protectors of the ancestor mother religion. All the paragons, including Domebush Shuang, Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master, Monarch Destruction, Paragon Huiqing, Ripple Lady Planet Master, Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction, and the others flew towards the Arcadia flying ship. The 10 rulers watched everything. Will we win? Empress Qian He was slightly worried. Our 2 strongest paragons, Pang Yi and Monarch Green, have become rulers. Currently, none of these paragons can fight against rulers. Myriad God Palace Head coldly said. This time, it's a little risky. The other rulers did not speak. Everyone felt uncertain. Just like Monarch Green and Pang Yi in the past, they could suppress a large group of paragons. It's a pity that the 2 of them had become rulers. The 10 rulers looked to the distance. There were 36 streams of light arcing through the starry sky. They had already charged into the Arcadia flying ship. Those 36 streams of light represented all the paragons in their cultivator cosmos. End of this chapter. Star. Chapter 723. The Arcadia flying ship in front of them was getting bigger and bigger, yet Domebush Shuang and the other 36 paragons did not slow down at all. When they were just 5 kilometers away from the Arcadia flying ship, a ripple formed on the surface of the flying ship. Those who came into contact with the ripple, Domebush Shuang and the others easily passed through it and entered the ship. Hua! After passing through the ripple, they arrived at a quiet and peaceful world. This world had grasslands, hills, and rivers. It was just that there were no birds or beasts. Stop! Following a loud roar from Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction. Hoo hoo hoo! Domebush Shuang and the others stopped. They stood in midair. The 36 paragons from the cultivator cosmos, including Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master and Domebush Shuang, were all paragons. At this moment, all of them had solemn expressions. Even though this Arcadia flying ship world had an unseen law suppression, experts like Domebush Shuang and mysterious North Imperial Empress were still able to conduct an ultra-long distance scouting. The ancestor mother religion actually has so many protectors? Domebush Shuang relied on the Mirage world to extend his senses. He soon enveloped the protectors who were currently in a dazzling rainbow light 60 billion kilometers away. Different from the cultivator cosmos, these protectors of the ancestor mother religion were generally weaker in the laws and profound mysteries. Even though there were some who had comprehended the complete law of the world, none of the protectors had opened a Dao. Furthermore, they could not teleport within the Arcadia flying ship world. They could only fly slowly, and it was easy for Domebush Shuang and the others to catch up to them. They could just teleport by relying on the Mirage world. What a powerful aura! Domebush Shuang's expression changed slightly. There were a total of 51 protectors from the ancestor mother religion. They were flying at high speed, and the 3 who had the most terrifying aura were the ones flying at the front. They were a golden-haired monkey, a venomous-tailed girl, and a muscular man wielding a wooden pole. The 3 of them were currently emitting an unseen ripple that enveloped the entire team. When Dongbush Shuang, White Sovereign King, Mysterious North Imperial Empress, and the others were scouting in the dark, the 3 most terrifying protectors from the ancestor mother religion immediately sensed it. Humph! The muscular man wielding the wooden staff turned his head. His gaze pierced through the obstruction of the void and was actually able to see the group of paragons of the cultivator cosmos tens of billions of miles away. They're here. The golden-haired monkey also turned around. His golden eyes seemed to pierce through the void as he looked at the group of supremacies. Even if you come, you'll just be throwing your life away. The venom-tailed woman sneered. Don't underestimate them. These cultivators have created their own Tao. Their control over the laws of profound mysteries is much better than ours. Right now, they can easily monitor us. As for us, only Protector Kuei and I can see them. The golden-haired monkey transmitted. The brawny man with the wooden staff said, That's why if we play tricks with them, we'll be the ones to suffer. Let's do what we're doing now. All the guardians will work together, and we'll use our absolute strength to crush them head-on. No matter what tricks they use against us, we'll crush them head-on and crush them into powder. The venom-tailed woman smiled. That was a confident smile. Their ancestor mother religion had been observing the entire cultivator cosmos in the dark. In addition to Bloody Ruler now providing them with a large amount of intelligence, they had a clear understanding of the strength of the 36 paragons. The more they understood, the more confident they became. This time, they would definitely win. In midair, Dongbush Shuang and the other 36 paragons were gathered here. Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction was currently clad in violet armor. His bare arms were covered in draconic tattoos. 2 black curved horns protruded from his head, and his violet eyes were faintly flashing with lightning. He growled, Fellow paragons, the ancestor mother religion has suddenly acted. Furthermore, a total of 51 protectors have gathered together. For them to dare to do this, they must have something they can rely on. The other paragons looked at Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction. Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction's strength had determined that he would naturally be the leader this time. In the world of cultivators, the strong were still respected. It doesn't matter what they are relying on. We must avoid their strengths and attack their weaknesses. Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction said, Their cultivation heart realm is much weaker than ours. Hence, the moment the battle begins, Purgatory Great Commander, Nightmare Monarch, and Monarch Dong Bo, the 3 of you will use your illusory techniques. Purgatory Great Commander's Purgatory reincarnation is the most powerful and tyrannical. Hence, he will be the first to use it. Nightmare Monarch's nightmare technique is slightly strange. Monarch Dong Bo's mirage and illusory realm should be extraordinary as well. Those with a weaker cultivation realm might be able to resist one, but the second and third would most likely strike the weakness in their heart, causing them to fall into oblivion. None present rebutted. After all, illusory realm techniques were the best large-scale technique. It was fine if they could resist it, but if they could not, they would be doomed. At this moment, the efficiency would be extremely high. I'll have to trouble the 3 of you. Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction looked at Dongbush Shuang and the other 2. Leave it to us. Purgatory Great Commander was clad in red armor. Nightmare Monarch, who was shrouded in fog, and Dongbush Shuang, who was dressed in black, nodded. After the illusory realm ends, we will need Demon Phoenix to use her domain to suppress and restrain each and every one of them. Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction began his arrangements. Demon Phoenix was an apex paragon from Dark Abyss. Her ranking on the Cosmos Deity Demon list was slightly lower amongst the apex paragons. This was because she specialized in domains. But she was also one of the paragons who had the strongest control over domains. She was average in terms of direct combat and defense. Only her domain was unfathomable. Ordinary paragons would not be able to retaliate against her. And when she met an apex paragon, she would immediately use her domain to escape. Hence, even though she was ranked 20th on the Cosmos Deity Demon list, her influence was still very high. She was comparable to Water Demon King and the others. And mysterious North Imperial Empress, Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction, continued to make arrangements. He had cultivated for a long period of time. Now that he was the leader, he naturally had to arrange everything well. Very soon, the battle plan was set. They would use their advantages to the best of their abilities. There were also many backup plans. All right, since everyone understands, let us prepare for battle. Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction looked at the green-robed beautiful girl, Mysterious North Imperial Empress. Mysterious North Imperial Empress, teleport us to their side. Mysterious North Imperial Empress softly nodded. Hua! Suddenly, a huge illusion of a magic formation appeared in the surrounding void. 1. In a split second, the 36 venerable ones inside the illusory formation disappeared without a trace. When he appeared again, he was already 60 billion kilometers away from where the group of protectors from the Ancestor Mother Religion were located. Who? The group of protectors from the Ancestor Mother Religion were flying at high speed. They had turned into a huge rainbow light. They were like meteorites arcing through the sky. And Dongwu Shuang and the other 36 paragons had appeared by their side. They were just a few kilometers away from them. This distance was something they could touch with their level. And of the 36 paragons, Purgatory Great Commander, Nightmare Monarch, and Dongwu Shuang were fully focused. Purgatory Great Commander, who was covered in red armor, was the first to display his illusory realm technique. One could see flames burning in his eyes. In his eyes, there seemed to be many souls howling within the flames. An unseen ripple descended and enveloped all 51 protectors from the Ancestor Mother Religion. Chapter 724. Almost instantaneously. Of the 51 protectors from the Ancestor Mother Religion, a total of 6 of them were clutching their heads and howling in agony. Flames were burning in their eyes. These flames came from their souls. They could not withstand the purgatory reincarnation, and their souls were directly incinerated into nothingness. Even though the other protectors revealed a pained look, they were still barely able to withstand it. Go! Nightmare Monarch let out a light laugh. His laughter strangely transmitted into the mind of every protector from the Ancestor Mother Religion. Of these protectors who were previously struck by the purgatory reincarnation, 2 of them revealed a strange smile. They closed their eyes and fell asleep. Descend. Dongwu Shuang closely followed up with his mirage and illusory realm. The 3 of them had their own techniques. Purgatory Great Commander's Purgatory Reincarnation was actually more offensive in his Tao of Purgatory. It directly attacked the soul, and the illusory realm was merely a secondary effect. If one could not withstand it, their soul would be directly incinerated into ashes. Nightmare Monarch was primarily a type of nightmare that could control the soul of the enemy. And Dongwu Shuaying's mirage and illusory realm formed a world that was similar to the real world. This illusory world and the real world were 2 different worlds. When the illusory realm descended, it would bewilder one's consciousness, causing one to fall into this illusory realm for eternity. Hoo! Under the execution of the mirage and illusory realm, 5 protectors fell into a deep sleep at the same time. They naturally emitted breathing sounds. Amen? Purgatory Great Commander and Nightmare Monarch, who unleashed their respective attacks, were slightly startled. They glanced at Dongwu Shuang by their side. They were clear that the first one to unleash his illusory realm had the best effect. A total of 6 protectors had died. The second one was slightly weaker because the 6 with weaker cultivation hearts had died. The remaining ones were not too weak, and only 2 fell into the illusory realm. As for the third time, a total of 5 protectors had fallen into oblivion. This made the 2 of them extremely startled. Just talking about this illusory realm technique, Shuang was most likely the strongest amongst the paragons. Dongwu Shuang was very clear about this. After so many years of cultivation, his understanding of the Tao of Mirage was much more profound. In addition to the 600,000 years of studying the void array of the Black Gourd, because he was proficient in the Tao of Mirage, almost all of the gains he gained from studying the void array were related to the Tao of Mirage. These gains allowed his Tao of Mirage to improve tremendously. Currently, his Tao of Mirage could be considered to be at the pinnacle level. The Purgatory Great Commander's illusory realm attack was just a side effect. The Nightmare Monarch was just an ordinary venerable. Dongbu Shui Ying's Tao of Mirage, on the other hand, was extremely proficient in illusory realms. Moreover, it was a top-notch Tao of Mirage. Amongst the paragons, his illusory realms were naturally the best. Monarch Dongbo was the last to act, yet he managed to cripple 5 protectors. His illusory realm is more formidable than expected. The group of paragons from the cultivator cosmos had many judgments in their hearts. It was all because Dongbu Shuang was too young. Everyone subconsciously felt that his illusory realm techniques should be ordinary. Hong, among the 36 paragons, Devil Phoenix was dressed in a luxurious violet gown. Beneath her beautiful face, her eyes were filled with killing intent. One could see countless violet lights spreading out in a region spanning 5 billion kilometers. The violet light was fluctuating like a violet ocean. Every single violet light contained an offensive power that would make the hearts of others palpitate. But all the protectors from the ancestor mother religion were being protected by an unseen ripple. The ones releasing this unseen ripple were the golden-haired monkey, the venom-tailed girl, and the muscular man with a wooden pole. The illusory realm technique was illusory and targeted the soul. Under normal circumstances, one could only rely on their soul to resist against it. Clearly, they could not protect their comrades. But the domain attack of Paragon Devil Phoenix was easily resisted by them. "Kill all of them!" the golden-haired monkey roared. He waved his palm, bringing with it a world-destroying power that swept out towards the group of cultivator paragons. Because he was filled with anger, the golden-haired monkey seemed to be risking his life almost instantaneously. His entire body began emitting golden light, and his aura became much more ferocious. That huge hairy palm of his rapidly enlarged. Every single strand of hair on his palm was like a towering tree. It seemed as though he wanted to slap all the paragons to death with a single palm. The space by the edge of his palm had turned into a pitch-black distorted black hole. The expressions of Dongbu Shuang and the others changed. Fighting against 36 by himself seemed like a joke. But Dongbu Shuang and the others were clear that this was not a joke. The offensive power of the golden-haired monkey was comparable to that of rulers under normal circumstances. At this moment, he was risking his life to unleash a forbidden technique, causing its power to increase by several times. It was unfathomably strong. Even if he was weaker in terms of laws and profound mysteries, people like Dongbu Shuang who could use the mirage world could naturally resist against it. But many ordinary paragons would probably be suppressed and annihilated. After all, this was the might of a ruler. In terms of strength, it might even surpass them. This was the strongest of the 3 great sage protectors. Scram! Followed by an angry roar. Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction immediately slashed out with the black pole in his hand. Normally, he would not use a weapon. But this time he did. His weapon transformed into a purple lightning bolt. Hong Long Long. In terms of strength, Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction had also reached the ruler level. His understanding of laws and profound mysteries was also close to that of a ruler. When Pang Yi was more low profile, amongst the paragons, Monarch Green was publicly acknowledged as the strongest. He was truly comparable to a ruler. Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction was second. He was extremely close to a ruler, and was able to wrestle with a ruler. But after a long time, he would still be defeated by a ruler. As for the other paragons? Water Devil King, White Sovereign, Monarch Hex Cricket, and the others were all peak paragons. But when facing a ruler, they could only preserve their lives. Pun! The black pole tore through everything. It clashed against that huge hairy palm. The pole merely trembled slightly before dissipating the impact. Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction did not seem to be at a disadvantage. He continued his killing. Let's kill Great Destruction first before sweeping through the other paragons, the golden-haired monkey said. Kill! The venom-tailed girl and the pole-muscular man did not hesitate to team up with the golden-haired monkey to attack Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction. In a one-on-one battle, they would at most be comparable to Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction. But if they worked together, they would be able to complement each other's techniques. In addition to their understanding of Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction, they were confident of killing him. Within the territory of the Ancestor Mother Religion, within a vast palace hall, the group of religious leaders were seated cross-legged. They were watching the projection in midair. It was the scene of the battle within the Arcadia flying ship. In an instant, we lost 12 protectors. Even though 6 of them are in deep sleep, they are temporarily unable to provide any help, a thin old man said. It was hard to awaken those who had fallen into an illusory realm. Few religious leaders could do so, much less those paragons. They could only search for their true bodies in their hometown cosmos and ask one of the religious leaders to awaken them. That Dongbush Shuang was the last to unleash his illusory realm, yet 5 protectors still fell for it. He wasn't this formidable back in the 6th heavenly wheel. These religious leaders were discussing. Indeed. In the past, when Dongbush Shuang was in the 6th heavenly wheel, he had merely killed a single protector. But that time, he had just opened the Tao of Mirage. And now? Close to 10 million years had passed. He had also comprehended the Black Gourd Void Array, raising his Tao of Mirage to the pinnacle. Naturally, his power was much stronger than before. Fellow religious leaders. Suddenly, the huge Fang Hunk said in a low tone, I've just received news that the 6 protectors who could not resist against the purgatory reincarnation technique have died from soul combustion. At that moment, the palace hall turned silent. When the enemy could not resist against the attacks of Dongbush Shuang and Nightmare Monarch, their true bodies and avatars would fall into deep sleep. And when the enemy could not resist against the attacks of Purgatory Great Commander, the souls of their true bodies and avatars would be incinerated. They died for their hometown and for their race. The huge Fang Hunk said. Their deaths are worth it. A female religious leader calmly said. The war has just begun. Everything is for survival. Chapter 725. In the starry sky outside the Arcadia flying ship, Bloodblade, Monarch Green, Pang Yi, Abyss Primogenitor, Primal Master, and the other rulers were watching from afar. Even the Ancestor Mother Religion could see what was happening within the Arcadia flying ship. The Cultivator rulers were much more profound in the laws and profound mysteries. They could easily see what was happening within. But seeing was just seeing. The unseen law suppression within the Arcadia flying ship prevented them from entering. The battle has begun. Primal Master caressed his beard. The illusory realm is indeed a counter to the Ancestor Mother Religion. It has instantly caused them to lose 12 protectors. Bloody Ruler now praised. They are just slightly weaker protectors. Those apex protectors aren't that easy to deal with. Temporal Island Lord coldly said. I hope that we don't lose too badly in this first battle. Bloodblade turned silent too. Their eyesight was sharp. They could deduce the gap in strength between both parties. This was a clear gap. Your disciple isn't bad. Abyss Primogenitor chuckled. It seems that his Tao of Mirage has improved greatly. Temporal Island Lord coldly said. It's a pity that the Tao of Mirage is too weak in a battle. Bloodblade was only watching carefully. He was collecting detailed intelligence on the Ancestor Mother Religion protectors. After all, their understanding of the Ancestor Mother Religion was too little. This battle was a true large-scale battle between paragons, and it was also a good opportunity to collect intelligence. Within the Arcadia flying ship, the paragons from both cosmoses began a frenzied battle. One side wanted to occupy this cosmos for survival, and the other wanted to defend against these outsiders. Both parties were fighting with their lives on the line. They were using their full strength. Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction and the three holy protectors from the ancestor mother religion clashed. One could see the golden-haired monkey being ferocious and tyrannical. His two hairy palms were wantonly attacking, suppressing Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction with his absolute strength. The muscular man wielding the wooden pole was only slightly weaker than the golden-haired monkey. He was still suppressing Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction. Furthermore, that wooden pole was unpredictable. When it struck the back of Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction, it immediately burned a huge wound. Even the Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction's expression changed when the wooden staff was touched. As for the venom-tailed woman, she was much more sinister. Her tail instantly extended for tens of miles, twisting around like a chain. The tip of her tail was so poisonous that even Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction didn't dare to touch it with his body. Nirvana. A middle-aged man wearing a dark green robe also joined them. He was the monarch Hex Cricket, who was ranked just below the Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction. Monarch Hex Cricket's entire body was shrouded in a layer of misty green light. He entered the fray with his bare hands. Peng! Monarch Hex Cricket used a single hand to block the full-strength attack of the robust man wielding the wooden staff. Although his body staggered 2 steps back, only a black scar appeared on his arm. However, under the expulsion of the green light on his body, the scar instantly disappeared. This Monarch Hex Cricket's attacks are very weak, but he can be said to be undying and indestructible. Even if the 3 of us surround him, we won't be able to injure him. The golden-haired monkey transmitted. There's no need to care about him. Let's deal with Great Destruction with all our strength. The 3 holy protectors were not willing to tangle with Monarch Hex Cricket. But Monarch Hex Cricket was doing his best to tangle with them and help Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction. Monarch Hex Cricket being called undying and indestructible was not a lie. He was truly too tyrannical and heaven-defying. He had once presided over the 6 heavenly wheels Black Rain Eden, and all the protectors from the ancestor mother religion could do nothing against him. They used all their treasures to shatter his body and extinguish his soul. He could even come back to life from thin air. This life force made even rulers envious. With the help of Hex Cricket, Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction could barely fight against the 3 holy protectors. He would not be surrounded and killed in a few moves. Kill! 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 The other paragons were also fighting against the protectors from the ancestor mother religion. The ancestor mother religion protectors were relatively clearer in their techniques. The first type was tyrannical and had heaven-defying strength and speed. The second type was a transformation of their body. Either their hair would turn into a terrifying weapon, or their arms would turn into a sharp weapon, or their eyes would shoot out light. All of them were hard to deal with. The third type was a seemingly weak body. Even if they were weak, their bodies were generally stronger than the cultivators. They were fighting with all their strength, but every cultivator present was extremely vigilant. We must not let them obtain our blood. Blood Blade transmitted the information to them. These protectors had the weakest bodies, and they specialized in strange curses. They had to rely on something like hair or bones, but the most effective was blood. Even though they were the weakest during battle, they would be the greatest threat the moment they obtained the blood. On the other hand, the cultivators were using all sorts of methods. They could transform into lightning, flames, or bamboo leaves. Even when they were fighting, they used formations, domains, and voodoo poisons to launch sneak attacks. Regardless, they were using all sorts of techniques. But, hong hong hong, the moment both sides clashed, there was a clear change in the situation. The cultivators were immediately at a disadvantage. Die for me! A protector from the ancestor mother religion wielded a huge stone axe and furiously hacked down. A paragon cultivator paled seeing this. He immediately retreated and tried his best to defend and preserve his life. But with a hong sound, his entire body was blasted into powder by the power contained within the stone axe. Kill! Die! The apex protectors of the ancestor mother religion specialized in strength. They could suppress others. That time, when Dongbua Shuang fought with Protector Huizhu, he was suppressed. Those apex protectors with transformed bodies could suppress the paragons in terms of strength, and their attacks were even weirder. More importantly, there were a total of 32 apex protectors, including the 3 holy protectors. And how many apex paragons were there in the cultivator cosmos? They could not even compare to half of the other party. The remaining were ordinary paragons. The gap in strength between ordinary paragons was too huge. There were those who were formidable in survival, such as Leaf Saint, who could barely survive. Those who were weaker would simply be swept away. And the apex paragons like Paragon Huiqing, Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master, Devil Phoenix, Mysterious North Imperial Empress, and others could fight against an apex protector. They could even assist other paragons. But that was all. They did not have much of an advantage. The battle between both sides. The cultivators who had the advantage were Water Devil King, White Sovereign King, Bitter Cultivator, Purgatory Great Commander, and Dongbua Shuang, who had revealed his true strength. Kill! Water Devil King's body seemed to be condensed from water. His ferocious might overflowed into the sky. He wielded a venomous trident. He attacked wantonly. When the protectors attacked him, Water Devil King's body would turn into endless streams of water and dissipate before condensing in the distance to attack another protector. Even the ruler Primal Master could not kill his body. He could only imprison him. And in terms of offense, he was much stronger than Monarch Hex Cricket. He was more ruthless and tyrannical. Almost instantaneously, a protector from the ancestor mother religion began asking for help. Humph! The silvery white-armored handsome White Sovereign King was currently surrounded by a layer of blood. Schwa! His figure seemed illusory and real at the same time. He would occasionally turn into a blood fog, and the ancestor mother religion could not attack him. At the same time, he was displaying that terrifying sword technique. Every sword contained an extreme power. That time, he had used a single sword to heavily injure Dongbua Shuang, who had cultivated the 4th layer of extreme annihilation mysterious body. This sword technique was powerful and mysterious. The protectors of the ancestor mother religion could not defend against it at all. Humph! Bitter Cultivator was also barehanded. He looked thin and small, yet he was the strongest amongst the paragons. His strength did not lose out to the apex protectors of the ancestor mother religion. More importantly, every single fist of his contained laws and profound mysteries close to the ruler realm. Pun! He punched out. Even Protector Wu Zhu, who dared to face it head-on, would be sent flying back while spurting out blood. One could see him fighting fiercely. One after another, the protectors of the ancestor mother religion were sent flying. None could obstruct him. Die! Purgatory Great Commander's entire body was covered in a layer of flames. He held a spear in his hand. He had also cultivated the myriad devil true body. Even though his strength was slightly weaker than the apex protectors, the gap was not too big. In addition to his vicious spear technique and profound comprehension of the realm, his armor was also incredibly strong. For a moment, the apex protectors could not defend against him. Compared to the previous 4, Dongbua Shuang, who had cultivated the Tao of Mirage to the pinnacle, was the most mysterious and unpredictable one present. His attacks came and went without a trace, and this gave the cultivators a pleasant surprise.